It can be scary to find yourself single and looking at the modern dating market in your 40s, 50s, and 60s and assume that you'll never find a woman you really want and you'll be alone for the rest of your life. Well, that's simply not true. And this is our number one point. Men our age suck. You see, for so many higher quality younger women, the number one thing we're looking for in a man is your age. And by that, I mean your emotional maturity and your life experience. And yes, we understand this usually comes with maybe some gray hair, some wrinkles, maybe an ex wife or children as baggage, and certainly no six pack abs to show off at the beach. So, this video is designed so that the next time you're out and about and you see a beautiful younger woman, you'll have the techniques and, most importantly, the self confidence to go over and talk to her and strike up a fun conversation. And if you can just do even 2 or 3 of these 11 simple things I'm going to share with you correctly, you can instantly become the guy that beautiful younger women really want to be with. So pay attention and keep watching, because in the first half hour, we're going to give away the number one so simple secret that will separate you from every other older guy in the eyes of us models and beautiful women. How do I know this? Well, I'm Tess. I'm not AI. I am a runway model turned men's dating coach and the boss of a team of models who've trained our clients on hundreds of dating boot camps and workshops over the last 20 years. When I finished high school, 2 of my close friends went out and started dating guys in their 40s. And this is when we were in our early 20s. And when I got into modeling, I found that was so often the case with some of the more high quality women that I modeled with. And it really is quite common, you know, with us women generally just maturing a lot faster than you guys. Oh, and in about 30 minutes, I'll show you how you guys can get to practice your dating and approaching skills with me one-on-one over Zoom and get my expert coaching on how to improve with women dramatically. But let's get back to point number 1. Yes, men around our age usually suck. And I'm going to quickly introduce my co-host James to help me explain why.
Cameron, how are you guys?
Hi, James.
I'm having a little tech fuzz. Yeah, this is a big one for our clients. Everything starts by you understanding and actually getting into, I suppose, your head and also the cells of your body. The intelligent younger women, emotionally mature younger women want to date older men. And this seems to be the case in most of the cultures around the world. I've been to over 100 countries. And for most of history, except for this last 20 to 30 to maybe 40 years, and we'll get into the evolutionary reasons a little bit later. I don't want to be rude and start saying mean things to you. So I'll pick on me in my late 20s, but let me start by asking you a question. Would you want to date yourself when you were 25 or 30 or even 35, let alone 20? Would you want to set a dear female friend of yours or your sister up with you at that age? Now, I'm not going to answer for you, but I can tell you about me. I was completely crap in bed. I was a full-on weekend binge drinker. A lot of guys get into drugs and stuff. I'd never traveled much, and when I did, I was just drunk most of the time. I'd read novels, but not in years because I was working so hard. I didn't do yoga. I didn't do meditation. I really had close to 0 female-friendly hobbies and interests. I sort of wanted to be successful, so I worked 60 hours a week, and I wasn't working. I was drinking. I was playing sport. And I was basically a vegetable outside of that. I was studying multiple degrees. And when I wasn't doing one of those things, drinking, playing sport, or working or studying, I was basically a vegetable, recovering from a hangover and my exhausting week. I had close to 0 relationship experience. I had completely 0 understanding of female psychology. I basically thought women were just guys, except they had tits and no dick. I wasn't a bad person, but I wasn't as good a whatever high karma person as I am, certainly from my 40s and beyond. I was immature beyond belief outside of dealing with my clients at work. I had the emotional maturity of probably a 10-year-old girl, maybe an immature 13-year-old girl. I couldn't dress to save myself. If I'd gone to a restaurant with a girl, I was an embarrassment. I had very little wisdom. And yeah, I didn't want to go to London because Osama bin Laden might bomb it. It was just crazy, crazy, crazy. And outside of my success at work, sport, etc., I was so insecure. This is me in my 20s or 30s. And most importantly, I would much rather play Russian roulette rather than walk over and talk to a girl I really liked, even if she was looking at me. I'd rather get in a ring with Mike Tyson. And me, I was, by most people's standards, uber successful. Anyway, forget about me. Anyway, I was successful in finance and I was good at sport and had some cool friends. So I talked about me. Let's put the mirror back on you. How many of those things that apply to me would apply to you? Are you starting to see why what Tess and I go on about, how not all, but most younger men, they're just not attractive to women around their own age? Tess, did you want to follow on from any of the points I've made?
Yeah, it's so common, guys, younger guys just being completely, all they care about is hanging out with their mates, or partying's a big one. Just don't have any direction, don't have any life experience, haven't traveled. So all of those things are really, really unattractive. Uh, for some young women who are also into partying, that can work. But for a lot of women who do mature a lot faster than men, we already know, that's not what we're interested in. Guys who are just partying all weekend and hungover on Sundays, it's not attractive.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, of all the things I rattled off, be honest with yourself. How many of those were you a heavy drinker? Were you crap in bed? Did you know relationship experience? Were you insecure? So I don't know, if you want to share anything in the comments, that would be awesome. When I started Social Coach, which was 2006, probably a year or two later, so 2008, 2009, I did a bit of a study. I looked at the sexiest men in the world and the sexiest women in the world. And the sexiest men in the world were pretty much all in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Sean Connery was still pretty much top of the pops. And the sexiest women in the world, I remember Madonna somehow worked her way in there, probably in her early 30s. But everyone else was like women in their early 20s. It was young models like Adriana Lima and then Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. I'm not saying this voting's correct, but yeah, it was young female celebrities in their early 20s or in their teens paired up with much older male celebrities who usually were were in their 40s or well into their 40s. And then if you go back and look at the pairings of, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, or all these great actor-actress pairings in the classic movies before the sort of wacky gender relations of the last 20 or 30 years, there was nearly always this huge 20-year age gap. It was, Cary Grant in his late 40s with, gorgeous Grace Kelly in her early 20s. So this thing where we think we're not attractive to younger women if you're a sort of a confident, well put together older guy, this is just a very recent innovation, I think, possibly by people trying to control us. I think we've hit that point hard enough. If you give us any feedback about you, the next thing you need to really get your mind around is a lot of younger women are dopey and just going from club to club, and these days just Insta posting and stupid photos with their friends. It's your job. You've got to learn where to find quality younger women who actually like older men like you. It's older men, but older men like you. So how do we do that? It's your job to find the younger women who like older women and like you. So most guys who watch YouTube, they see guys running around doing hardcore pickup approach, which looks pretty scary, but some guys give it a shot. Some of you guys are out to bars having a crack there. Many of you have got some hack to apparently make dating apps work, even though they seem to crash in 2016, according to all the feedback I've been getting in the share price. And some of you might be doing whatever. You're still meeting through friends and family or work, which is dangerous. Many of you have never approached, or you've rarely approached. And many of you work quite hard. So I think there is a dramatically better way. And if you look at me as an example, again, I'm talking about me so as to reflect a mirror back onto you. 6 things I love most in life, in pretty much in order: long-term independent travel, helping people, I'm a dating coach, classical music, literature, meditation, I suppose yoga is a distant subset of that, playing sport, and nature. Okay, that's the top 6 things or top 7 things I love in life. Now, interestingly enough, where did I meet the greatest women of my life? Let's just run through them one by one. Number 1, independent travel at a volcano in Central America. Number 2, Swan Lake, Tchaikovsky performance. I love classical music. While I was traveling in Russia. Number 3, literature section of a bookstore. Number 4, independent travel, playing beach volleyball with me traveling through Indonesia. Number 5, independent travel. I briefly met a bunch of girls at a cafe, and then I met up with them again at a yoga meditation thing they told me about. Me traveling through India. And then number 6, bit of an aberration, was Nut Market Bar, but we talked about books half the time we met at a bar. 5 of those girls are or were models, and yeah, I can't believe they came into my life. So what's the point of this story? What are you learning? The way I got girls who most people, if you looked at us, would say that guy must have a thing between his legs the size of Mount Everest, or he must have a shitload of money, neither of which applied. The reason I met them and got to succeed with them and date them for a long period of time in many of those cases is because we had so much in common, but I could laser focus on how much we had in common simply by the places I met them. And so many guys don't do this. I've never seen it talked about on YouTube. It could have been, and I'm not aware of it. So Tess, as a former catwalk model with some pretty active hobbyist interests, tell me what would happen if you saw 64-year-old Lance Armstrong, the big wave surfer, when you're in your 30s. How would you react if Lance walked by in a pair of board shorts, hopping off a 40-foot wave with his shirt off? What would be going through your mind, and what would be going through your nether regions, if you don't mind sharing that with the YouTube live audience today?
Yeah, obviously a guy who's into what I'm into. Surfing's a big part of my lifestyle. So yeah, pretty much all the guys I date are surfers. So yeah, to be honest, James, I don't really care about celebrities, but guys who surf, I find hot, absolutely. And yeah, especially guys who can ride big waves as well. That's definitely impressive. But yeah, it's really about that commonality and about him fitting in with my lifestyle that I find really, really attractive. You know, the fact that we can do something that's really so important to me in my life together, and that we're most likely going to have really similar lifestyles, right? So I know I'm going to get along with this person potentially, you know, long term. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. It's completely different to just meeting a guy randomly in a bar where you know, what's the likeliness that you're going to have anything in common at all, and actually connect on anything. So yeah, if you already know that you have something in common, especially when it's like something that's really important to the woman, then yeah, you're just so many steps ahead.
Fantastic. Yeah, but can you explain how, like, a guy who's maybe a hell of a lot older than you'd normally consider a realistic prospect, who is an amazing surfer and a super masculine guy, can you explain how that could make you maybe go, you know, 10 or 15 or 20 years older than you think you ever would, given you've got this great connection?
Yeah, absolutely. The great connection, that's really what's important to women. It's not about what you look like, or you know, what your job is, or yeah, connection is really key. So yeah, when you meet a guy who you can connect around something that's like core to my being, that's super, super attractive. Absolutely.
Terrific. Any questions you have on these subjects? Please sell in. Got a bunch of guys here. We'll say hi to our stream of regulars in just 1 second. We'll get into the third point. If Tess or I is breaking up for anyone, I tend to be getting them. I'm trying to figure out whose internet it is. I'm at a new place this time. Um, so next up is number three. You have to identify the mistakes that you're making with women. This is probably the biggest mistake guys make. It's not the thing we're going to tell you about. I think we'll really move the needle on this one, but this is huge. I wasted years of my life, guys think, oh, I'll just do more approaches. I'll just do more approaches. That will solve everything. If you're making ridiculously stupid errors in your approaches or your dates, doing more approaches just do nothing. You're just loading, sorry to use a sales example, just loading more and more leads into a broken funnel. It's like you're pouring water into a bucket with giant holes in it, expecting it's going to fill up. It's not. It's just not. You've got to figure out what's going wrong with you. I mean, there's so many common ones. It's not funny. And it just the reason you find anything that's important to you, whether it's your business or your hobbies or your health or trying to stop drinking or smoking or having the courage to approach attractive women, the reason you're not achieving these things is because there's just one or two key things you're doing wrong. If you could break through that restraint, would send you nuts. I think Elon Musk's now worth 1.1 trillion. What's his number one piece of advice to business owners? The theory of constraints. Identify your number one constraint, then just focus all your energy, laser focus on that. Blow the restraint up with laser focus, then figure out what's the next restraint. And so many of you guys need to do that in your dating life. Two of my, I suppose, all-time favorite clients. One was, 6'2", 6'3", 225-pound private school rower, could have easily become a model. He chose not to do that. And he came and did our boot camp, and because he'd had a really dominant, overbearing mother, he'd come and be like, he'd talk within quite a masculine voice, talking with guys, and he'd approach one of my female coaches and go, hey, how you doing? I'm Steve. And he'd have this sort of gay, almost Michael Jackson voice. I'm just like, what is going on? And then we identified that, and we trained him to sort of use a natural voice, because he always wanted to be very respectful around women. And then he just revolutionized his life. And I think at one stage he broke up with a girl because they were fighting, and then he got 4 girls in 4 days while he was working. Another one who's lots of energy, not very good looking, very insecure. But his problem was when he got him to approach girls, he just never listened to them. He's just constantly waiting to get a chance to say something impressive. So yeah, I don't know what yours are, but that's part of the point of working with us. So yeah, okay, I'll ask you guys now, what's the number one thing that's holding you guys back with women? If you could share that in the chat, that would be awesome. And yeah, pretty much every guy that we do a Zoom call with, there'll just be 1 or 2 glaring weaknesses that nothing will happen until they fix that up. Tess, you've got oodles of experience on this stuff. Just talk about initially the Zoom calls you do before we even get them to boot camp, and how you'll do the first session with a guy, and it's like, what the hell is this guy doing? And then you identify that, and the guy works to fix it. And yeah, just talk about that from your perspective, given you know more than me at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. There are lots of different mistakes you could be making. It spans from like style to also just the way you're communicating. So, a big one is guys who just try way too hard with really cheesy pickup lines, that sort of thing, which is like, it's just so repulsive to women. It's that's terrible. But also just sometimes commenting on how beautiful she is, or as the first thing you say to her, or just asking lots of, statements or closed-ended questions where you're kind of just projecting your thoughts onto her rather than actually getting to know her and allowing her to open up to you. So those are some of the really common, like, early stage mistakes that we see. But yeah, guys, James is absolutely right. If you're doing a handful of things right, but then you've got a couple of blaringly like terrible mistakes that are just, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, because women, it's like immediately they'll just write you off because of, it could be a number of things. Could be, the way you're presenting yourself, or just pushing her away by saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful. I just really wanted to talk to you." And she's like, "Oh, who's this guy? He's desperate." Or just he's got low self-confidence, etc. There are a lot of things in that early phase of rapport building that you're creating the first impression. So it's really, really important that you're not making mistakes in that period of time.
Great. What's it like when you identify a mistake and you work with a guy and you give him the homework and he goes away and fixes it? Just talk a bit about the process and how quickly that can happen.
Yeah, no, it can happen really quickly because the feedback it's really simple. And also once I explain to you why, from a female psychology perspective, it's important that you change those things, it kind of clicks and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it is really easy to change, and it's something that we just practice ongoing. So generally speaking, even if some people have pretty ingrained patterns in the way they communicate, but I encourage everyone to practice these things in their day-to-day lives, and the people who really do progress super quickly, and the people who don't still progress pretty well when they're just practicing with me. But it doesn't take too long to start to learn new habits. It works really well.
Oh, great. Just a couple of questions for you. Are you worried about growing old and grey and being all alone in your 40s, 50s, and 60s? Or worse, just settling for an okay woman, she goes super toxic on you, and then takes half your assets? Are you, 40s, 50s, 60s already, and you've been out of dating for a while? Maybe you've been single for a long time, maybe you've been married for a while, and your confidence is way down. Modern dating has changed out of sight with technology, dating apps, whole Harvey Weinstein thing. And you're possibly sick to death of dating apps. I know pretty much every guy I talk, that's not true, 95% of guys I talk to is. Many of you, particularly if you're getting a bit older, you'll have approach anxiety, you're scared of rejection. A lot of our clients are quite busy guys. You've got a very narrow window of spare time every week to invest in everything, let alone going out and learning the skills and doing enough approaches and dates to actually find someone special. Many of you might find, I'm 55, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just not really attracted to the Sheilas around my age. So if any of that relates to you and you want answers where you can solve it quickly, pay attention. I'm just going to talk to you quickly about the process of working with a social coach. If you've no interest in this, but you love the content, maybe just skip forward a second or two on the replay. This is what we do. It's a dating diagnosis with Tess. She's my best female coach. She's absolutely amazing. And the goal of the diagnostic is to identify and eliminate dating mistakes that have held you back your whole life and will continue to hold you back if you don't fix them up. And it's basically to help you beat 95% of guys at approaching and dates and getting the woman you want. And if you can do that, you'll get the woman you want, guaranteed. And then finally give you a written step-by-step action plan for you to implement, whether you go away and do it yourself or you maybe ask how we can help you. It's going to change your life if you do a half-assed job of implementing one or two things. This could literally be you tomorrow or in the link below. So Tess is the boss of all these women, and we've been doing these dating boot camps for 20 years. We kind of know what we're doing. Thousands of clients. So this is the process. We find out about your life with women, marriages, toxic ones, kids, long time single, whatever, childhood abuse, whatever the hell got you to where you are today. We find out where you want to be 3 months from us training you properly to be super happy. And then we ask what you think your sticking points are. Then once you've established some sort of baseline, you just go practice approaching Tess, like she's at a bookstore or a cafe or a bar. And then you do a bunch of this. Tess will identify a whole string of the mistakes you're making. And then from there, if you're good, we'll actually get you role-playing a few dates with Tess. It's like, hey, you've rocked up on a date. This is what you do. This is what happens. And then again, Tess will identify a whole bunch of other mistakes you're making and potentially some stuff you're doing right as well. She's going to give you a lot of one-on-one personalized tips, coaching, conversation starters, some of the stuff we've been refining over 20 years. Once that process is done, we'll answer your personal questions about dating. And within 24 hours, you'll have a written step-by-step plan to follow in your inbox. It's called a dating diagnostic with Tess. It'll sincerely be the best 24 hours of your life, 24 hours. 45 minutes you spend on dating. This is sincerely something we're charging $1,495 for during COVID. It kept Social Coach going through all those silly lockdowns. And yeah, we're doing it for a crazy price tomorrow. Tess isn't the only one who does it. Natalia is another amazing coach. She's another model turned professional dating coach. Natalia has been with me about 14 years now. And yeah, we can now change your life on Zoom after years of doing it in person. We now do both. Yeah, for tomorrow and potentially Tuesday, if you look at the calendar, it's not $1,495. It's just $1. So yeah, if you're watching, you should be able to click a link below. I can't get my finger, and find all about it in the link in description. And if you're Australian interested in our help, don't delay. We've got boot camps coming up, and we've got US dates coming up soon. Dating diagnosis 101 with Tess. Anything you want to add about it, Tess? And anyway, I'm so freaking confident, having done this for 20 years now, 20 years, or at least 19 years and 9 months or something, that I will not give you 100% money back guarantee. I'll give you 1,000% money back guarantee. So if you do the session and you don't think it's close to the best 45 minutes of your life, you've invested in dating, I'll give you your money back. I've been doing this since 2006. You can see me young with a bad haircut and bad jeans there, and some of my first up clients. And I'll transfer $100 to your bank account via Wise. That's how sure I am how good this process is. Yeah, this guy flew from Nashville, Tennessee, horrible life with women, and had 4 girls, most of them half his age. One was 36, he was 59, and the others were 20s and very early 30s. Anyway, I'll move on. So 100% money back guarantee if it doesn't change your life. Tess, did you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, no, we've got a few guys who I've worked with here. So if you guys want to say anything about what it's like working with me, I welcome that. It's lots of fun, guys. And it's really simple. Don't feel intimidated. You know, we get to know each other really well over the course of working one-on-one over Zoom, and we practice dating role plays, etc. But I basically just become like your wing woman, sister, who can just, you know, you can talk to me about anything, and we just really nut it out, you know, and it is very individually tailored as well. So whatever it is for you, that's what we work on. And yeah, like I said, it's lots of fun. It's lots of fun. So come join me.
She's your smoking hot big sister who wants to make her little brother a killer stud woman killer. That's basically what the deal is. So yeah, we'll get to our wonderful people in 1 second. So I think we promised in the first 20 minutes, so we better follow through on this. We might just quickly address the comments because we haven't done it. We'll just say, can you just say hi to everyone who's joined, and then we'll do their questions in a second.
Hey guys, we've got Anthony, Landon, Adam, James, hi Virtual, welcome guys, some familiar names, Ralph, Simon, we've got Tong, hi guys, hello, welcome. And to anyone who's new here, say hi in the chat. We welcome you all. We're here to answer all your questions, so say hi in the chat. And yeah, let's look at some of your questions we've had come through.
We'll do one more point before we do that. While we're doing this, questions about why young guys suck, questions about how to find women who want to date older guys and who want to date you, i.e. hobbies and interests, and questions about the mistakes first. And now we move on to what Tess promised at the start. The biggest bit of all is this absolute ripper. Stop hiding your age, your maturity, your life experience. Don't try to hide it. Flaunt it, flaunt it, flaunt it, flaunt it. Let me just get some water. Okay. You're probably at an age where you're scared to approach, and you're scared to approach younger women. You're worried you're too old and grey. You might not be in the best shape anymore. You're terrified of rejection. And if you do try to do it, you try to act all cool and hip and wear young designer label clothes and get a red sports car and go to your dentist and get your teeth so white the girl can use it as a mirror to do her makeup. And many of you will get this in a second, are just leading with money. It's like, I'm just one walking wallet if you'll let me drool all over your young nubile body. No, 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 no. Intelligent women want older, confident men. So you want to flaunt all this stuff. You want to flaunt all this stuff. So some of the things I literally do, I tend to much prefer younger women. It could be because I'm a bit of a Michael Jackson. I was essentially a virgin until 31. So I never got to sleep with women in their teens or 20s. I don't really sleep with women in their teens now. I can promise you that. That's a bit gross. But yes, certainly 20s and early 20s. So yeah, when I date younger women, I tend to flaunt it as much as possible. I'll highlight the age differences. I don't try to hide them. I know a lot of guys who, might be 45 or 52. When they meet a girl, they'll lie about their age. I just tell the truth. And I'll constantly, this might be a little bit advanced for some of you guys. I mean, I joke with some of them, oh, you weren't even born. And I used to joke, oh, you weren't even born when the stock market crashed. Or, it's important to me when Dire Straits released Brothers in Arms. I've had a few where I'm joking about, you weren't even born when September 11 happened. I make fun of myself that I wear exactly the same clothes every single day. I basically eat the same food every day. I'm always joking how, I'm not too cruel about it. Your music sucks. Your movies suck. I used to argue with them about some cool hipster band they thought was the greatest thing ever. I said, I promise you, in 5 or 10 years, you'll pretty much forget about them. I always make fun of, have you ever dated anyone as uncool as me? And I'm always joking about my skinny arms, grey beard, big nose, hunchback posture. Again, only do this if you're really confident. And it tends to work out as reverse psychology, because most guys my age, if they come across a young, hot woman, they're constantly trying to talk about their money and they're constantly trying to act all cool and hip, and they pretend they're into the latest music and TV shows, and they try to use all the cool internet language to keep up with them. I tend to go the other way. So you don't necessarily need to go the extent that I do and just make fun of it. But the reason she's considering dating you is because she wants an older man. Sorry, she doesn't want an older man. She wants an emotionally mature guy. So what a lot of guys do is they try to run away from that. Tess, as a model, you might want to explain this because you'll probably do a better job than me. You meet an older guy, he's potentially hot. He ticks a lot of boxes, but he's constantly insecure about his age, and he's just sort of pushing that onto you, and he's trying to sort of act young and cool and hip. He's got as I said, he's got the teeth, they're so white you could do your hair in it. He's all the cliches. He's got the red sports car, and he's waxed his chest, and he might have dyed his hair and his beard or some. Just talk whatever comes to mind on this subject.
Yeah, it's a guy who's trying that hard. It just screams like insecurity, low self-confidence. Like he's trying so hard, which is just it devalues the guy, because we can see through that. We're like, why isn't he just comfortable with who he is, and why is he trying to project this like young image which is just, it's just fake? I don't know. It's just very superficial as well. It's super attractive being with a man who is comfortable in his own skin, doesn't feel the need to try to impress or to be like force a sort of character, especially a young, like trendy character, etc. Like women love guys who don't give a fuck what other people think about them, and just they're true to who they are. I mean, Yeah, and age-wise, especially, if you're trying to, yeah, force some character, it's just we just see straight through it. So, yeah, guys, if flaunt your age. Don't feel the need to like dye your hair or wear trendy clothes just to keep up with the current fashion. It's not sexy.
Yeah, and plastic surgery as well. A lot of guys are actually going to extent of plastic surgery to try to get younger girls. And yeah, a lot of younger girls are complete experts at plastic surgery. They can see anything. So again, if you've got ears that stick out like a mile or something, or it's just like one thing, I'm not necessarily against plastic surgery, but just trying to make yourself 30 years younger with it, I don't think is sexy at all. So yeah, I mean, just how do you, what's it like when you're a young, attractive girl and you've got this older guy you could potentially be interested in, but he's just done all the white teeth and the red sports car, and he's dressing like he's, just try to explain how that makes you feel inside. It's if it
Um,
would, I think it more highlights the age difference rather than shrinks it. Is that fair?
yeah, well, it would highlight that this guy's insecure about his age, or yeah, or trying to make up for something, which is just, um, yeah, like I said, it's just cheesy. It's like to me, it's repulsive. That's how I feel about it.
Can you put that? Is there any way you can articulate that for the guys? Because it's something I, as a guy, really struggle to communicate. Um, the key word is insecure. If you're insecure about your age, you're insecure around that woman, and insecurity is one of the biggest possible turnoffs for women.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge turn off, a huge turn off. Um, like I said, just being comfortable in your own skin, that, having that confidence, that self-esteem that is so attractive to women. So that's what we're looking for in older men. A lot of younger guys don't have that. They don't have the self-confidence. They don't have the experience. They don't have that behind them. So women who are attracted to older men, like you're if you're trying to act young, you're literally negating the strength that you have. So so yeah, just be comfortable in your own skin. Don't try to hide it. Don't try to change your age. Don't try to be someone you're not.
And you got to remember, if you are talking to a younger girl and she potentially likes you, she's probably nervous as hell. And they will often, they're the ones who'll often pretend to be something they're not to impress you. This has happened to me so many times. So if you're doing the same thing on her, it's just so weird. It's like two insecure people trying to hook up. Women are allowed to be insecure, unfortunately, men are not. I met a girl quite confidently who she wasn't like a proper model, but I never saw it because it was private by the time I met her. But she had 80,000 Instagram subscribers, and it was mainly just boobs, bikini shots, and that sort of thing. She's one of those influencer girls, but she stopped doing that when she got some job she was really happy with. At least she put her thing to private. So I met her. I was pretty confident, promiscuous with women. I think I still had two by girlfriends. So I was probably late 40s, 47, and she was 23. And one of my strategies with younger women, because I don't want to waste time, is whenever they say something that's kind of intelligent or interesting or worldly or whatever, I'll go, "Oh my God, that's really interesting, Deborah. Wow, you seem really bright. Tell me, you seem really bright for someone your age. Tell me, what do your parents do for work?" And I usually sort of whatever misdirection with the parents. And then sometimes I'll just, even though I'm whatever in our 40s or 50s, I'll ask about their age directly. And I'll go, "Oh, so how old are you?" And they might reply 24. And I go, "Oh, 24. Oh, wow. Yeah, you seem very mature for your age. And then I'll look them very directly in the eyes and wait. Because oftentimes they'll ask me my age. And if they ask my age and I go, "Oh, I'm 55. And they're like, it might mean that's too big a leap for that girl, and I I'll try to seduce her quickly. I won't waste a lot of time on it. Whereas if she's pretty cool with it, just by looking her deeply into her eyes and assessing it. So I'm getting a read on how big a deal the age gap is for the girl. And when I did it with this girl, it was so funny. I think I was 47. She was 23. And how old are you? I'm 23, the Instagram girl. And then and she goes, and how old are you? And I said, 47. And then she goes, my last boyfriend was 28. As if, a 5-year age gap's anything close to a 25-year age gap. But that was her trying to bridge the gap. So the reason I told you that is she was hyper nervous around me. So if you were hyper nervous around her, I mean, it's just not going to happen. Fantastic. We might, before we get into point 5, we might just have a look at some of the comments. Tess, do you want to take control of them?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, there we go. That's a good one.
Yeah.
We'll start with that one. How important is it for older men to have strong boundaries when dating younger women? Very important. Now, because a lot of guys who are a bit passive with women and not very confident with women and use money to get the women, a lot of times guys don't like younger women because they get young airhead gold diggers who are boring as batshit, and they're only really with the older guy for one reason. And the only reason the girl even noticed them is because they rocked up in a Mercedes or had a boat or told the girl about their wealth, which so many guys do. Guys are insecure, so they lead with their wallet. It's like a lot of insecure girls just lead exclusively with their body. So if you're getting girls with money or status, then yeah, you probably do want to have boundaries because it's the post-Harvey Weinstein era. And if you've got plenty of money and the girl wants some of it, there's many things she can do to get some that could put you through months or years of hell, potentially years of hell. If you met her as I suggest, like I really enjoy reading literature, and most important, I enjoy having sex with young girls who read literature. So if I've just walked up to a girl who's half my age in a bookstore and asked her what the last great book she read is, and then a conversation hit, then it led to a date, which led to sex, then I probably don't need to have the sort of boundaries because it's a much more legitimate relationship rather than to swap age and money for youth and beauty, if that makes sense. So in any relationships with women, it's always important to have fairly strong boundaries. But I think that's much more relevant to how genuine your attraction was. Were you genuinely interested in each other, or was it just a trade of looks for money? Did you want to add anything to that, Tess?
Yeah, I think boundaries are important in general. Like if you don't set boundaries for yourself and you're just always going out of your way to give the woman your time and energy, you're putting her on a pedestal, etc. She might like it initially because she's like, oh, I'm being treated like a princess, but she will resent that in the long run. So especially when there's like an age gap, if you're just putting her on a pedestal and not having any boundaries with her, then she'll know that she has all the power and she'll start to disrespect you. So when you do have boundaries, but like when you're with her, you make her feel valued, obviously, but then having boundaries around, how much time you're going to give her or energy, etc., then that actually makes her want more. It kind of sets that desire up, so boundaries are very important.
Great. We might do some more questions. Thank you, Landon. Do you want to take over, Tess? Thanks, Adam Anderson.
Okay. Yeah, another question from Landon. Do younger women care more about an older man's lifestyle or his personality?
That's a good question. It's hard to answer perfectly. In the example of Tess dating a guy who's a champion big wave surfer, she's going to really love his lifestyle, and that's going to be very, very attractive to her. But at the same time, his personality is obviously hugely important, because you can share the same lifestyle hobbies, but which will help you have a much better connection. But if you don't have a personal connection, it's going to be much harder. So I don't think it's necessarily an either or thing. I think personality might slightly win out over lifestyle, but you could debate that for quite a while. What do you think, Tess?
Yeah, I agree. Personality for sure. I think yeah, the way you're connecting on a personal level is much more important than just lifestyle. But then in saying that, for me, like certain lifestyle factors, yeah, because I'm really adventurous, I love travel, um, uh, yeah, certain, sports that I'm into, etc. Yeah, guys who fit into that lifestyle, that works really well as well. But yeah, so I would say personality is probably more important. Lifestyle is also important, but yeah, it really comes down to connection.
This is a really important point. I sort of talked to you about this, Tess. I think you and I are quite similar, and we're a bit hippie bent. I'm like, if I met a girl where whatever, she had a good personality, she was bubbly, she was charismatic, but she's spraying aftershave the whole time, and she's constantly putting makeup on every time we leave the house, and she takes more than like 10 minutes to get ready, and she wants to go out to expensive restaurants to go to fancy dinners the whole time. And I think that food's shit. I'd rather have organic cafe food. Then it's going to be very hard for this relationship to get much traction, because it's like we're constantly at each other. It's like, what the fuck are you spraying? What do you think about that in terms of, if you do get someone who you really well sorted? I find, I suppose I've had a hell of a lot of relationships, if you include sort of 1 week and 2 week ones when I'm traveling. I've sort of tried out for a short period of time, or a month or weeks. I've tried out a lot of girls, because I've never been like a go to bars, pick up some slapper and bang her and put it on my spreadsheet and go home and give my friends high fives about it. I've been more short, sharp relationships. So what do you think, just to push back on the lifestyle aspect? Because if you get a lot of lifestyle things in sync, it can make everything so much easier, because so many problems in a longer or even a medium-term relationship, if there's such a thing, just vanish, because you're already sort of in sync. So you're always coming at the same time, every single time. It's just perfect with that little baby thing inside her. What's it bit? The vagina bit comes and grabs you, and it stops, and you're like, you're both screaming in ecstasy. If you get that right, a relationship's going to have a lot of horsepower behind it. If you don't, a bit more work. But if you get all those lifestyle aspects together, I've just found that it's not the holy grail, but it really helps so much. What were your thoughts? Like, if I date a girl who's constantly like thick makeup, and before she leaves the house, she's got to check the mirror 5 times, I'm just like, yeah, if I'm in my 30s, I might show off with you on my arm for a few weeks, but I don't know if it's going to go much beyond that. Unless you're bisexual or something. What do you think about that, Tess?
No, I agree, James. It's like, obviously lifestyle, I think lifestyle tells you a lot about the personality as well. So yeah, it's, these things kind of go hand in hand. It's hard to say which one's more important. And I do agree. Yeah, obviously when a lot of lifestyle factors line up, yeah, it's an easy fit, right? So yeah, I guess like more looking at the question in terms of like younger women, right? So when there's an age gap, like, I guess, yeah, lifestyle could definitely bridges the gap, absolutely. But so does personality. So yeah, it's hard to say which one they care about more. I think that they're both important. Yeah.
It's just an interesting discussion in the context of relationships, because I don't want to sit and talk about yoga for more than 5 minutes. It's not interesting to me. But if a girl does yoga, that's a big plus for me, possibly because she's going to be way better sexually. But just because a whole bunch of things that will often match up. James has said difference in maturity is one, lack of confidence. is another one. Are you talking about you or the girl? I'd really love to know that. Hey, how you doing, Simon? Good to see you. Just put Simon up for a second. Such a good point about meeting women who you've got things in common with. It's the topic to start a conversation. Yeah, that's been one of my big secrets behind my success. I'm not trying to get some girl. I mean, I've met some great girls in bars, not superbly great, but I've met some good ones. And I've met some girls just doing random day game street approach. But most of the women I've met that I've spent periods of time with and have come to sort of define who I am as a human being, I met all of them in a place related to my hobbies and interests. And I mean, I can't remember the names of most of the rest of them, but the ones I talked about at the start and maybe half a dozen others have really helped my life. How can older men avoid seeming like they're trying to buy a younger woman's attention? That is an excellent, excellent question, which might lead me into never make it about money. Yeah, I had two bisexual girlfriends. I think I was about 40 and one was 22, the other was 25 or 24. And yeah, I took them out for one of the girls' birthdays, and the girl whose birthday it wasn't, she pulls out her purse and starts to pay. I said, "Oh, what you doing?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm just going to pay my share." And I said, "Oh, no, today's different. It's her birthday. It's my share." She's like, "Oh, thanks." And she gives me this super big, warm hug and kiss. And whatever happened with the three of us later that night. Because what I'd done is I just told girls, like, I don't ever spend money on girls. I don't make it about money. If you like me, you like me. So I've always made girls pay their share. I've been sensible about it. I mean, I will talk a bit more about that. So you just don't make it about money. So many older guys with young, hot girls, it's just instantly about money. You automatically pay for everything. You're automatically spoiling her, buying her flowers, buying her gifts. And you're just setting up this sex for money transfer, which for a really attractive girl is just so repulsive. I know Jackie, one of my female coaches who's quite prominent on the YouTube channel, she's talked in detail how she's pretty much given up on so many white collar professionals, business owner guys, because as soon as they get around her, they're just throwing cash at her, and her dad's very wealthy. So it was just repulsive to her. And I know the thing you guys have to understand, if a young hot girl, even a young moderately hot girl, has Instagram these days, she's constantly hit up by rich guy, rich guy, rich guy, rich guy, rich guy, rich guy. It means nothing to them. It just means absolutely nothing to them. Money has very little currency with a young hot girl. I mean, there's Elon Musk money or Jeff Bezos money or hedge fund owner money, but the sort of money, just having a lot of money, it really doesn't mean much. It's all about the connection. And so many of the models I met when I was living in New York, they would stay as far away from the New York finance, hedge fund, private equity broker guys as they could. And they'd hang out exclusively with the hipsters, the cool kids in Lower East Side. And so many of them would be dating these skinny, struggling artists in flannel shirts. I'm like, she's a supermodel. What are you with him for? Yeah, so Tess, talk about going on a date. I know you had some anecdotes from your years modeling in New York. Just talk about some of the guys just throwing money. I think it was Michael Jordan's manager or something or whatever. Just all these guys just throwing status and money at you. Just share some examples with the guys.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of like high status men, rich finance guys, celebrities, etc. in New York. But yeah, the guys who kind of throw that at you, it's really awkward. Like it makes it really hard to actually connect beyond a superficial level when that's all they kind of focus on, and that's how they sell themselves. And it's especially awkward for someone like me who I don't really care about that stuff. So I'm like, who are you beyond the surface? And it's, yeah, I don't find that attractive whatsoever, because yeah, it makes me feel objectified as well. Like when a guy is basically, yeah, just trying to sell himself as, yeah, rich, and it's about the money. I'm like, who do you think I am? Like, I'm not a prostitute, you know, like I'm not here as an exchange for money. Like that's not what this is about. Um so yeah, it's just not a good feeling.
Thanks, Tess. That's really interesting. What was I going to say? Another interesting point with Tess. Um, we had a debate one time. We went out to dinner with my head approach coach. She sort of pulled me up and said, "You think all women just want the hedge fund guys and the private equity guys and the plastic surgeons," which some women do, there's no doubt. She said, I don't want them at all. She doesn't like them at all. I don't put. I mean, I will put words into your mouth. You'll never get a camping trip with them. They'll cancel holidays at the last minute. They'll be absent, possibly crap fathers. I mean, certainly guys like that are far more likely to use prostitutes and cheat. They're never there. You're raising kids alone. You've basically got, you don't have a boyfriend. Whenever he stands you up or screws you around, he's just throwing money on your pillow saying, "Here, go buy some shoes." So just talk about guys like that. I'm very cliched here, but for the busy, successful alpha male achiever, what's it like for a young hot girl to date a guy like that when she actually wants a proper relationship, not just some guy to post pictures with on Instagram?
Uh yeah, it just doesn't fit. I don't know how else to describe it, you know, like um for someone who wants a genuine relationship that's not just about, yeah, him buying her expensive things or whatever. Like if he's not the kind of guy who's going to give you time and energy and be doing the kind of things you want to be doing, like for me, you know, like travel, adventure, camping, like all of this stuff, I yeah, like I like men who are men, like guys who can build things and fix things and have practical skills, you know, all of those things I find really attractive. Not like how much money you have or what kind of car you have or how many employees you have, you know. Yeah, it's not to say that guys who aren't successful can't be attractive to me. That's not at all. It's the guys who that's kind of all they've got going for them, and that's all they've focused on in their lives, and they haven't actually gone out and, you know, yeah, got different hobbies and traveled and done some stuff that makes them interesting, you know? That's why, yeah, it's more about me being bored with the kind of guy who I can't connect with, yeah, in a meaningful way.
Plus all the, I mean, I've talked to girls who've dated these guys. It's just like everything's cancelled at last minute. A deal's come through. I'm not going to see you for 2 weeks. Oh, but I'll miss you. Yeah, but there's millions of dollars involved, or I'll get fired. I know I was in finance and probably had a very high opinion of myself in my late 20s and early 30s. And much later on, I had no practical skills. I'm not saying everyone's like this. I got girls to change car tires for me because I'd never bothered learning that. Because when you work in finance, why would you bother learning something that you can easily outsource for a tiny fraction of what you make? I could outsource that for 2 minutes of my work. So I never learned anything practical. But I was living with a model who was a wonderful girl. And she's like, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" I'm like, "I can't do anything." And I made it work partially because of sexual skills, but yeah, she was just so frustrated with me. She's like, "You're completely useless. You're not a man at all." So, but yeah, you guys laugh, but guys who tend to be very, very good at one thing tend to be really, really freaking useless at so much else, and that's true for a lot of these super achiever guys. So yeah, some other points about never make it about money. It just screams insecurity, which Tess may have talked about. It will come back and bite you because you can get, you know, a girl whatever a certain level by throwing money at her. But then if this becomes quite special and you get in a relationship, One of the things that I see constantly happen with my clients and my friends is they meet a new girl, they think she's great, they pull out all stops to sort of wine her and dine her in expensive restaurants and holiday and helicopters over islands and all this shit. Then they get back to their, very, very busy life once they're sort of out of the 3-month honeymoon period, and she's just some girl who stays at home. And then the girl gets nasty. She's like, oh, well, why aren't I being treated like a princess anymore? And yeah, if you're leading with money, you're going to get more toxic women. Just like the young girl who's got all her boobs and half her ass and everything's tight, and she's always wearing heels, and she's always got full makeup and her hair all done. She's wearing stripper pink. These girls are going to attract very undesirable men. Guys who always lead with their money are going to attract very undesirable women. And yeah, you will repel, by leading with money, you're going to repel a lot of girls who might otherwise like you. If you've got nothing to add to that, Tess, we'll move on, but get back to questions.
Yeah. Let's get back to the questions. Next question was from Landon, who asks, what makes an older man look low value to a high quality younger woman?
Leading with money would probably be the number one thing on the list. I don't even know. It's like a Michael Jordan thing. Who's number 2, number 3, number 4? I don't know. So that's the number one. Oh, okay. That's not true. Dyeing your hair, all sorts of cosmetic enhancements would probably be very, I shouldn't say this because there's parts of the world where that's much more acceptable. I'm not going to name them, but there's certain parts of the world which most people can guess where a much higher percentage of men would get obvious plastic surgery than most other parts. So it might not be such a deal breaker there. But yeah, mostly whenever my female trainers hear about guys dyeing their hair or going to some surgeon, they're just like, oh my God. And I'm talking about girls who've had tens and tens of thousands of dollars of work themselves. But the idea a guy doing it is just repulsive. It's just completely horrible. So what makes an older man look low value to high quality younger women? Trying to be a woman and trying to hide his age and highlight money. And then of course the stupid things like white teeth. Tess, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think just to put it simply, it's insecurity. If you're an older guy, presumably you should have had some relationship experience, some life experience. You should know who you are. Like you should have, you have some direction, have your life together to some extent. So a guy who's really insecure at that stage in his life, it's kind of a red flag. When younger women are like, oh, well, this guy's like acting like a young guy, that makes you look low value.
Next question, Tess.
Yeah, question from Virtual. How important is having your life together when trying to attract younger women?
You need to talk more about having your life together. If that's a reference to money, it's obviously going to help. I'll take it the way I think it applies best. Tess said at the start, the reason a young hot woman would consider dating a guy who's 20 or 30 years older than her is because of his emotional maturity. It's because of his life experience. It's going to be because of his wisdom. So the number one thing you probably don't want to be as an older man is to be insecure in yourself, because that's the number one reason a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old attractive woman is going to date a 55-year-old is so she can get away from insecure, soft inside men. That would be the number one reason. Obviously, some girls would do it for money. I'm not arguing that, but assuming it's a genuine connection. Have your life together in terms of your own self-esteem. You don't need to be worth tens of millions or even millions. You just need to be quite comfortable with who you are as a man. Now, we get so many clients on our boot camps who are very comfortable with who they are as a man, but they're crap with women. So then when we teach them the skills to get much better with women, then the fact that they're very comfortable with what they've achieved professionally, what they may have done in their family, what they may be doing in their hobbies and interests, who their other friends are, the fact that they've got their life, like what I say constantly, which applies to so many of my clients. I'm pretty successful in life, but I tend to be unsuccessful with women, whether it's, I had a really toxic one, or, I spend a fair bit of time single and my relationships get difficult. So we get a lot of guys who are quite unsuccessful with women, but successful in life. So if you're quite happy with the way your life is and what you've done with your 50 years on the planet, and you're not got crazy insecurities, then when we add the skills, you'll probably find you have a very easy time trying to attract younger women. So yeah, I got to be careful what I say, but the number one thing that turns women off is guys who are insecure. And we can all guess what the number one thing that turns men off, apart from being crazy toxic, it's women who are not physically attractive. So Tess, do you want to add something to that?
No, I think you cover that one really well, James. It depends what you mean on having your life together, but it is mainly about just your self-esteem and exactly what James said. I think you covered that really well.
There's a guy, Bacchus Z-Foot, he said, what about my question? If you see that, just bring it up. What's next on your list?
Yeah, sorry guys, we're just I'm kind of going in order. There have been a few questions, so we will get to your questions. Stick around, we will get to your questions. We're trying to get through them as fast as we can. Question from Landon. Is it better for older men to be direct or more subtle when showing interest?
Good question. Hello to Enghard in Liverpool, UK. I spent some time there.
Hello.
You've had some rather good music come from your city. I don't know. I mean, there's dating coaches who are big on direct, which is you go up and start by calling out the woman's beauty. I'm not a fan of that at all when it comes to getting beautiful women. It might work quite well on less attractive women. So I don't think never's a lie, but I've rarely commented on a woman's physical appearance up until the point where I got her in the bedroom. Then I laid it on thick. And it was a fly around the world elite model who taught me that trick. So I think if you walk up to like a girl who knows she's hot, particularly she's modeled, and you start by telling her she's beautiful or she's pretty or you're cute, I think you're taking a huge step back. And in the game of poker, the psychological game that is dating, you're basically being a bad player because you're calling out her beauty, which makes... Okay, if I walk up to a legitimately hot girl and say, oh my God, I just thought I'd come up and talk to you. You're really beautiful. Even if she likes me, I'm making it hard for myself because hot women, they want to date a guy who doesn't even find them particularly appealing because that's the ultimate pre-selection signal of all. If a girl who's regarded as stupidly hot by 99% of the population, if I meet her and I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? I start talking with her and there's nothing sexual at all. She's like, what's up with this guy? Why isn't he hitting on me? Why isn't he looking at my boobs or my legs? Or he doesn't even seem to notice me apart from he's just being friendly. That really screws with their head. And then it really screws with their head because they're so not used. It's so foreign to them not to be treated as sort of a sex object or an object of beauty by men. So when they meet one guy who doesn't do this, they're like, oh, wow, I got to fuck this guy to find out what's going on. And they do. Tess, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I completely agree, James. It's it really stands out to a woman when you can keep your cool. This is highly attractive women when men can keep their cool around them and not just like fall to pieces or start like I don't know, just putting them on a pedestal and trying to do anything to get their attention. So yeah, I talked about this earlier, how that creates an allure, when we're like, I think he likes me, I'm not sure, like, what's going on with this guy? She'll be thinking about you and she'll want to pursue that. We like a bit of mystery for sure.
Might do another couple of questions. We've got some really solid points to come. I just looked at my my number 7. That is a life changer. So I would not leave before then. We'll just do a few more questions because we've got so many.
Yeah. Question from Anthony. What makes an older man stand out positively to high quality younger women?
Confidence, confidence,
Yeah.
confidence, confidence, confidence. On top of that, he's well presented. He's not looking at them as some sort of a sex object. He just treats them as a human being. The number one hack to getting beautiful women is just to treat them like a regular human being. That fucks with them because nobody does it. Everyone's using them. They've got a special act on when they're around a really beautiful woman. So if you can be the guy who just treats them like a human being, it's astounding the advantage that gives you in and of itself. So just treating them like a normal human being and not being insecure. Tess, that's a great question, man. Tess, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think you answered that really well, James. Yeah, and what that does, it just projects that you're a confident guy who's potentially had um, experience with really attractive women and or women in general. Like you don't just lose your cool or yeah, turn to jelly when you come across a really beautiful woman. So exactly what James said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cheat code just to treat them like a normal human being. Obviously, you need the skills to do that. The other thing I will add that I should have said, that's actually a topic for a YouTube live, how to stand out positively to high quality younger women. Ask them really good questions. That is insane. That's such a big part of what we work with you guys on Zoom. That is huge. We'll do a couple more questions and we'll get back to points, Tess.
Yeah, so MJ Hundy says, where are you meeting these women, James? I think you spoke about this a little bit earlier, but yeah, where are you meeting these high quality women, James?
Bookstores have worked extremely well, like absurdly well for me. The worst week of my adult life living in Australia was when they closed the Borders Bondi Junction, the Borders chain, because of poor management. For Americans watching, that's like Barnes and Noble or Chapters in Canada. Is a chain of bookstores, and the caliber of woman I got out of there just blew my mind. So I mean, girls a lot younger than me who are just incredible dateable women. So for me personally, so far above anything I've met anywhere else. You guys need to understand, I'm not telling you guys to meet women in bookstores or meet girls traveling or meet girls in yoga. This is what works for me. What I'm telling you to do is figure out where are the women you want to meet and get the skills to meet them there. That's something Tess is very good at helping you with. Like if you want to meet your women, walking at the dog park or walking at the dog beach, or you want to meet them at the local gym, or you want to meet them at a running club, then we can give you practice in how to do that over Zoom and then on the boot camp if you choose to do it. So yeah, I mean, I've met some in random places as well, but the great women of my life, most of them were met traveling, and many of them were met at bookstores, bookstore cafes. As I said, one or two of them I was playing sport. Yeah, it's just, and then if you look at the fairly large number compared to the average guy I've met in bars, I've met some good ones. I've met some really hot ones, met quite a few models, but yeah, only one of them would sit in the top 10 women of my life for girls I've met in bars. And she unfortunately wasn't really dateable. She was one of the best women of my life because she was so remarkable and because she really changed my life. Next question.
Yeah.
Indirect answer. MJ Honey, you've got to figure out where you're going to meet them. The point is not apps. After a few getting some skills, not bars, and not where all the other guys meet them, and not where it's just all guys. I mean, the gym you can, but it's probably not the gym. It's going to be something connected to something that's very special to you. For anyone who did miss it, I went through the best 6 women of my life, and the top 6 things or 7 things I love the most in life. The correlation between those two lists was staggering. Tess, next question.
Yeah, an interesting one from Virtual. What's the difference between just having money and being high value?
Yeah, a lot of guys have money, but they're tacky. So I suppose it's old money, new money. Like you can be fairly poor and be a high value guy. I don't really understand the internet terminology for high value, maybe as well as I should. So being a high value guy, I would just, you're a good guy, you're a decent guy, you're very confident, you've got a range of hobbies and interests, you've got cool male friends, you've done a bit in your life, you've got some good stories, you've traveled a bit, you've read some books, you've done different things, be it riding go-karts or meditating or horseback riding or ballroom dancing. You're not, a lot of rich guys, unfortunately, are very one-dimensional. It's mainly just their work and, you know, their fast cars or something. So that would be my take. Tess, what do you think? Explain a high-value guy to you. Probably emotionally secure and able to have deep, hard relationship conversations would be foremost in women's minds. Tess?
Yeah, that's absolutely what I was going to say. Emotional intelligence and um, and yeah, social skill, basically. Like a guy who who can network, who can just be the alpha in different settings. You know, he's got leadership qualities. He's he can make friends easily. He's got life experience, all the stuff James said. That's a lot more high value than just money. Absolutely, especially for someone like me.
A lot of guys who have money don't have that. Make friends easily, which Tess added to mine, was possibly one of the best of all. That's a skill that women, when you can make people who don't know you like you quickly, that's one of the highest value women's skills of all. Which, funnily enough, is what Social Coach does. We sort of market it towards get better with women, and you do get dramatically better with women, but you also get better with men. You don't necessarily need to take them into bed. If that's your thing, then that's not really what I specialize in teaching, but I guess it works for that. I did have a gay guy say some of my tips were pretty good. Okay, we'll do one more question and we'll get on to the next point.
Question from James.
Wait, this guy's been asking, I think. Sorry, I'll just do this one. Can you go back to it? Can you?
Yes. There's a bit of a backstory to this one, James. So I'll go through it. So
do you want to?
Yeah, I'm 57. She's 40. Dated 2 great months. Afraid to tell her parents about me. She had sexual abuse in the past. After her Italy trip, tells me she missed me. Made plans for something, the Poconos. I'm not sure what that is. Then she wants to see other people and friend zone me. I said no, so I walked out. So hurt, always there for her emotional support. We something together, went out, made love all the time, and then she tells me that I'm forceful. WTF? I am so hurt. 9 months, always think of her.
Can you go back to start, Tess? I don't want to talk in too many generalizations. She's afraid to tell her parents. 57 and 40 is not like some weird older man, younger woman age gap. She's 40. She's an adult. She's not 23 or 18. So if a girl doesn't want to tell her parents about you, there's a reason. As a generalization, if women are leading with a sexually abusive past, after 20 years they're dating, coach, that's one of the biggest red flags of all. in terms of that's going to potentially get very, very difficult, manipulative, and painful. Really trip shows you she missed me, made plans for ponchos. Can you go forward, Tess? She wants to see other people and friend zone me. So I said no and walked out, so hurt. Always there for you. Can't be there for a woman's emotional support, particularly if you're not having sex with them. It's not necessarily a man's job to provide huge amounts of emotional support for a woman. I don't think you're meant to be out slaying dragons, creating a good life, creating your empire. I think that's the job of her girlfriends. Men aren't particularly good at emotional support. It's like, oh, well, yeah, well, you got this problem. I'm going to solve it for you. And then women just get all frustrated. You don't listen enough. But I can solve your problem. We don't need to talk about it anymore. The problem's going to vanish. Yeah, but I want you to listen to me and empathize for the hardships I'm facing. Well, us guys just don't get it. Even me, 20-year dating coach, you know, I solve a problem for a girl and she's not happy with me. It's like, it's a stretch. So yeah, I think for emotional support, women are much better. The problem with a lot of toxic women is some of them actually don't have any friends or very few friends, or they've burnt the few friends they have. So I'm talking in so many generalizations based upon a few words on a YouTube live comment. So in gross generalizations over a large sample size, I'm right. But I've never met this girl. I've never met you. Do you want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
And she tells me I was forceful. Oh, God. I think I don't know what happened. She could be trying to make you feel guilty or come up with some crime you committed against her to control and manipulate you. I don't know. You could have been forceful. I've never met you in my life. So that comment there screams a whole bunch of red flags. I would possibly, I don't know if you've got a lot of money, but if you do, I'd get the hell out of there quickly. And even if you don't have a lot of money, I'd get out of there because it sounds like it's not going anywhere good. Tess, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, obviously, you know, I don't know what's happened in her past, but she might have some sensitive triggers, let's say, maybe around sex, intimacy, if she's had some abuse in the past. So that's like, yeah, saying that that's a red flag. I think it can just be something that you have to be aware of. Like if she's saying here, after what you've thought was 2 great months and you having, you know, a great intimate relationship, that she's saying that you were forceful now. So maybe that is to do with some of her past and some triggers, etc. That's maybe, yeah, it's hard to say in this situation, but yeah, so that's why it can be a little bit difficult to work with if she's got some of those really sensitive triggers. But also the fact that she's I mean, 2 months isn't a super long period of time, but if she was resistant to like telling her friends and family about you, that's also an indication that there's something that she's not accepting about the relationship in full. So that's also a bit of a red flag as well. Yeah, and maybe why after her Italy trip she was kind of maybe looking for reasons to push you away, when I don't know, there was, yeah, maybe she just wasn't into it. I'm not sure. So yeah, sorry in this situation. But yeah, it's yeah, a few red flags here, and yeah, I guess the biggest thing is when she pushes you away, not to just go pining after her and trying to be her emotional support person, like what James said. That's really important because that pushes you further into the friend zone and makes you seem less desirable as well because you're on the chase. So yeah.
Thanks, Tess. I've compared the average man. I've had a reasonable sample size of women. And again, I'm not the one night stand guy. So a lot of the women I've actually, you know, tested over the course of a week or two, or even 4 or 5 days intensively when I was traveling. So in my experience, I mean, unfortunately, it's one of the tragedies of our society. There's a fair number of women who have had some sort of sexual assault or something inappropriate happened to them sexually. And particular tragedies when it happens to them young, pre-puberty. That's one of the worst crimes against humanity, in my view. But when you look at the subset of women who've had those horrible experiences, who lead with it in their dating life, where they're telling guys about their abuse before they've even had sex with them. When I look at that percentage of women I've had the experience with, none of them had happy endings, and all of them I wanted to get out of there quickly, no matter how physically attractive she was. There were other girls where it came out after we'd been together for weeks or months that something unfortunate had happened to them, but where girls are leading with it straight out, like, oh yeah, I like travel, I like yoga, and I was sexually abused when I was blah blah blah. When the girls are sort of, that's part of their identity, that would be based on my sample size and my experience as a dating coach. That would be one of the biggest red flags there is. We might just get back to the point. One from Bangkok. Okay, we'll just do Bangkok Times because he's a similar theme. Hey, Bangkok Times. Yeah, man, chicks on drugs are nuts, but I can't blame her for her behavior. Oh, he's talking in relation to something else. I think I'll deliver a bit more of what I promised initially. Okie dokie, never make it about money. Okay, the best point still to come. Probably the second best point is still to come. You must be a super confident man. Yeah, so many of you guys, when you're older, you're leading with money, you're scared to approach, you're lying about the age. I mean, hey, a guy goes up to a girl at a bar, particularly if she's younger and attractive. Oh, can I buy you a drink? He's just trying to buy 10 minutes of a time. It's so sleazy. And yeah, you might, if you met a girl your age, say you're 50 and you met a 45-year-old, you might deal with her one way. If you meet a 30-year-old or 25-year-old, you're dealing with it in a completely different way. And you get guys putting on an act when they're around women, particularly younger, hot women. The reason younger women date older women is because he's much less likely to be insecure and he's much more likely to be really confident. So if you're not confident, and again, confidence is a skill that is learnable and we specialize in teaching. If you're not confident, you're taking away a huge part of the motivation that women genuinely date older guys. The single biggest turn off by a woman by far is a guy's insecure. So our female coaches, I might have mentioned this in a few YouTube lives, Val and Jackie especially, when they come across, and Nevin to some extent too, these are all models I've hired in my business, similar to Tess, to coach guys. And I've sat on boot camps, well over 100 of them, and listened to the girls just bitch and moan and complain about how awful guys are. And when they come across like a wealthy or tall, handsome guy who is insecure, they tend to really go to town on him. And any sort of dyed hairs or surgery, they really go to town on that. Women want a man, not a pretty boy. And the Russian cliche is, what woman wants beautiful man? What good is pretty boy? How does that help me? Beauty is useless, is wasted on a man. What is the point of that? They want a man, they want mans to be mans. And when you think about, a woman who needed a man to get them through the Bolshevik Revolution, Lenin, Stalin, and the gulags. I mean, yeah, they needed a real man. They didn't just want some guy. One of the biggest turnoffs that I hear from women is if they feel a guy's got a bigger wardrobe or spends more time in front of the mirror in front of them, it's just revolting. Yeah, you guys are asking, but how do I be confident with women? I haven't had much success. I had brothers. I went to an old boys' school. My ex-wife just beat the shit out of me and took 3/4 of my money. I didn't get to see my kids for 3 years. How do I be confident with women when I'm absolutely not? It's a skill. It's like, how do you go from being a weakling to beating the crap out of most people? Get a great MMA teacher and do what he says. It's exactly the same with dating. Just get a great dating coach and do what they say. It's probably the ultimate point that Social Coach makes. Success with women is a skill set. the number one thing women want is confidence. Confidence comes from having the skill set and knowing how to use it and using it. The skills are touch, eye contact, body language, elite level conversation skills, date planning, reading women's signals, sex, style, understanding female psychology, etc. So yeah, you've just got to be confident. The whole point of a woman dating an older man is because she thinks she's going to get someone much, much more confident. Tess, do you want to talk about okay, why is confidence overwhelmingly, by so much of a margin, it's not funny, why is that the number one thing that women look for in a man? And you can have a guy that will tick every conceivable box: rich, tall, handsome, potentially even lots of common interests. But if you found out he wasn't confident, you'd turn and run from the hills in a short period of time. Can you just explain that to men? They really struggle to get it.
Yeah, it's not just like necessarily like a conscious thing, like, is this man confident? Does he tick that box? It would just be like such a natural response that we're like, okay, there's something wrong here, and yeah, it's not attractive. Where does confidence come from? Like, confidence is attractive because, generally speaking, the guy has, his life sorted to an extent. He knows who he is. He's had he's got high self-esteem. Where does that come from? It comes from the full picture, right? So when a guy is really confident, and that's his, he presents himself that way, and that's who he is truly, it tells you his life's good. Like, that's an attractive person. That's the kind of person that women want in their lives. And especially like an older man who's not confident, that is terrible. And we've spoken about this like all night tonight. Because that's what we really expect from older men. A younger guy not being confident, it's like, okay, well, we can kind of excuse that because it's not necessarily the first expectation, but for an older guy, it's a huge expectation.
Well done, Tess. Thank you. So, and if you want to be confident, you're going to have to get over your fears. This is something I hear talked about a lot with my clients and guys in general. Unfortunately, the way society has gone, probably since the early 70s, men have been made to feel that if you just approach a woman, potentially with the one day maybe having sex with her, maybe having kids with her as well as having sex. You've got to have sex to have kids, last time I checked. You feel like a criminal making any sort of sexual overture towards a woman. That's how the human race survives. One of my throwaway lines is, if the English didn't invent alcohol, there'd be zero white people left on planet Earth. Zero. Would have been overrun by, Latinos and people with darker skin, people who aren't as, pathetic as us white people when it comes to actually initiating sex. So yeah, that's why the English invented alcohols and these wonderful bars, so that men actually were forced with the loud music to get close enough and had enough alcohol to eventually get some courage. Otherwise, there'd be no white people left on the planet. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. When you look at the multiplier effects of white people of white men being too scared to approach. You've got to get over your fears. So many of you watching, so many men in America, Canada, Australia, England, Germany, Holland, Sweden, Norway, probably Belgium, a bunch of other Western European countries. If a girl looks at you for 2 or 3 seconds and smiles and looks away, you're still too scared to approach her. This really couldn't have existed in human history. Otherwise, any groups of people where it would have existed would have been wiped out. You would have failed to breed. And then even if a girl in your social circle, she might be, one of your friend's sister's best friends, and then she obviously likes you, but you play it down because you're scared. You're on a date with the girl, you're like, oh, it's going really well. She's touching my leg and smiling and flirting. And you're like, oh, I should really kiss her. But you feel like you're committing some crime when you go to kiss her. It's just, I think it's just brainwash, if you like, a big psyop that's been run on us men probably since the early 70s. And then if you're like 15 or 20 years older than her, all this stuff is just tenfold. That's why tonight I'm trying hard to just hammer you guys with the fact that beautiful, emotionally mature, more intelligent younger women, many of them, a huge percentage, they want to date guys 10, 20, 30 years older than her. A girlfriend of mine who was a fly around the world model, a very smart girl from a family of PhDs. When she was 22, when I dated her, I lived with her. She said, why would I ever date a guy in his 20s? What a complete waste of life that was. And she said, you're one of the first guys even in his 30s I've dated. I usually date older than that. What can they give me? They've got nothing. They're insecure, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. Yeah, we're just so scared when we're dealing with women of rejection, humiliation, friend zone, being used for money. Yeah, it's just something you've got to get the skills and get past. And I mean, being called a sleazy older man, I've approached so many girls. I've been doing boot camps, 10, 12 a year for 20 years, not counting COVID. And we did a few less after COVID. I remember once being sort of, you're too old for me. And even in that instance, she followed me around the whole night when I did my trick. If a girl rejects me in a mean way, I just go, okay, well, sorry to bother you. And I just walk up and I straight away cold approach a girl younger and hotter than her. And I did the same thing. And then she saw me. Basically, I was on a boot camp and I jumped out in front of this girl when I was with a guy who was older than me. Said, hey, how you doing? Come meet my super cool friends. And she looks at me with just contempt, the way only an Aussie girl can do that. Or maybe a Jersey girl or something. Just looked at you with just complete arrogance and contempt and goes, you're too old for me. And then she keeps looking at me. I go, okay, no worries. And then I just ran over and approached this sea of blonde heads. And it turned out they were from Uppsala in Stockholm, in Sweden. And I'd been to Uppsala briefly. I had a girlfriend from there. Went, oh, wow, I spent a week in Uppsala. I loved it. I talked about what I saw there and how I went to Gotland and partied. And I talked to these, young, probably 19-year-old Swedish girls for a long time. I was probably about 48, 49 at the stage. And then the girl who rejected me in a harsh way was probably about 26, 28. Then after she saw me talking to the sea of blonde heads, she basically follows me all around the rest of the night like a stalker. So yeah, so much of it is you've just got to get over your fears. You've got to stop feeling like you're a criminal, or that if you try to take a girl's hand or you ask her out on a date or you try to kiss her for the first time, you ask her back to your house, you're not being a criminal. You're not being a pedophile. In actual fact, by the time most of you guys watching this YouTube live get round to it, the girl was probably hoping you'd do that for a long, long time. Tess, it's hard for you to comment on this because I don't suppose you can really understand how guys just feel like they're committing a crime. Tess, do women enjoy sex? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Do you have any girlfriends who don't enjoy sex?
No, I don't.
What words of wisdom as a killer dating coach, catwalk model, do you have for men? I'm really throwing in the deep end here to help them understand that it's not some sort of crime against humanity to try to kiss a girl or to try to grab her hand on a date. You've got to remember, if a girl's gone on a date with you, she might have been pouring or have hot wax poured over her genitals and ripped off a couple of hours before she went on a date with you. She did that because she was expecting to show you her beaver, so she wanted to look nice for you, and you're terrified of taking her hand. I mean, guys, this is crazy. Have you ever been to a beautician and seen the torture that women go through to look nice for us men in the most personal of places? We just need a pair of scissors or something. We can give a bit of a trim. They're doing some hardcore shit. Um, what's everyone's favorite genital covering? A lot of people go the Brazilian. I personally like the little Hitler, just a little moustache at the front there. So I nicknamed that the German, and I got a lot of laughs out of that, hopefully. So my favorite vaginal lawn mowing is the German. It's not the Brazilian, and it's certainly not the bushy 70s porn thing. Anyway, let's get back to Tess. Catwalk model, killer dating coach, hot girl, obviously. What can you say to convince guys that women want sex, and you're not going to go on a date with a guy unless you want sex from him? So, and you've got no interest whatsoever in kissing him or taking his hand or leading him back to bedroom. It's his job to do it. So just try to articulate this for guys.
Yeah, women love sex, they love dating, they love, it's exciting, that whole experience for women, early dating, etc. Yes, and we do enjoy sex. We love, yeah, pleasure. So get over your fears, because especially if she's giving you positive signals, like if you don't take that chance, it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating. Like, yeah, I cannot tell you in today's day and age how, like, the skills for approaching, or just even the confidence to do so, is becoming less and less. Yeah, I mean, guys just don't do it. And yeah, it's really, really frustrating for us women. I think it's, post COVID, etc. Physical uh, isolation and distancing, etc., social distancing. People, it's really pushed people apart, and it's it's not fun for us women when now things are starting, women are starting to get so desperate that they're like, I don't know, we've had some guys say that they expect women to do the approaching, which is the last thing we want to do. Like, it's not, traditionally, it's not our job, but it doesn't make us feel desired um or sexy. Women love feeling sexy. So we really do rely on you guys to take that first step. And so just get over your fears. Like, you have to be indifferent to the outcome, but just having the confidence to approach a woman and start a conversation is attractive in itself, right? She might put up a couple of barriers or whatever, but if you're able to get past those, that's super, super attractive. She's like, oh wow, this guy, like, he's yeah, he's confident, he's unshakable, he's cool. That's really, really attractive. So get over your fears, because yes, we do want to be approached, we do want to go on dates, and we do want to have sex. And just be indifferent to the outcome, because that's the most important thing. If you're feeling like you need to get it perfect, and you're putting all of this pressure on yourself to impress her and do a really, really good job, you're going to be nervous. So just go for it. Obviously, having the skills is going to give you the confidence you need. So, and you'll be much less likely to have any fear. So work with me if this is something that you are really struggling with. I can help you a lot to just, to know that you can back yourself, because you've done it over and over with me on Zoom, but also practice in real life. And it works. It works. So yeah, get over your fears, go for it, and have the skill to back yourself. That's what I recommend.
Yeah, fantastic. It's very easy for me, having been a professional at this for 20 years, to say, oh, just go talk to girl. It is very, very scary. It's like me doing boxing lessons and say, hey, just hop in the ring and spar with that guy. You get knocked around a bit. They're not going to kill you. You're not going to have any broken bones. We're not here to kill you. We're just sparring. So I know how scared I was doing that. So I'm not like putting anyone down. But yeah, we help you get the confidence to go destroy 95% of men. So yeah, if you click a link with Tess, but it is scary. There's no doubt about that. There's important evolutionary reasons why it's very, very scary. So Yeah, I mean, so yeah, we might get back to the questions, Tess.
Yeah, sure. So we had a question from James who said, how do women perceive an older man who makes an effort to stay fit and healthy, be it regular exercise, gym, yoga, Pilates, etc.?
I'm not saying being pretty healthy is a prerequisite, but it's hugely attractive. I should actually ask AI this. I believe I'm 55 now. I'm not in good shape at all because I've had some serious health crisis these last 2 years, the worst of my life, chronic mold poisoning and chronic lymphatic buildup. So I'm not in the best shape. But yeah, relative to most guys my age, I'm really healthy. And I honestly think if a guy is clearly in his late 40s, 50s, and he's still super healthy and vibrant, and he's got lots of energy and he's got lots of life left in him, I honestly believe that's an insanely attractive thing to a woman. And just using my knowledge of Darwinian theory and sexual selection, I think if a girl is 25, meets a guy who's 55, and she's like, yeah, I'd still bang him. I think her monkey brain is saying, well, this guy might have been sexually active since he was 15, and I still want to bang him at 55. So that's 40 years of mating. So I think they're saying, my sons, these guys are going to have 40-year mating opportunities. Whereas you get a lot of hot guys who are really hot in their early 20s or teens. You can see some famous actors, and they're just looking weird when they're in their 40s. And some guys, it works the other way. They were sort of they were almost ugly in their 20s and 30s. Then somehow at 54 or something, it just came together and it somehow works for them a bit. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a huge thing. But the other side of that, if you're 65 and you're sort of hurled over and, you got hair coming out your nose and you got a big pot belly and you're skinny and you got no life, no energy, then yeah, you're probably not banging 28-year-old young hot girls unless you're just using money. So it's not a prerequisite, but it's a huge advantage. But I mean, here's me telling you to stay fit and healthy to get girls. To not die when you're 65 or not have a life not worth living when you're 65. I mean, you've got to have exercise, you've got to eat healthy. The one thing I will challenge, a lot of guys think being healthy is going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, lifting very heavy weights and eating huge amounts of boiled chicken and protein powders. That might be an element of being healthy. I think you need to lift weights and do some resistance training, but it should be a combination of stuff. And if you're not including some sort of yoga in there, some sort of stretching, I think you're kidding yourself. Because what yoga does for your sexual function is something I can't even imagine. Yeah, I had many 5-hour erections, usually with 2 girls in my late 40s. I probably had at least 1 or 2 in my 50s as well, early 50s. So yeah, and a lot of that's due to yoga and diet. And obviously, if you've got 2 young, attractive girls with you, it's a bit harder to keep the flagpole hoisted for hours on end. Yeah, so health is very important. Tess, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a guy who takes care of himself is attractive no matter what age. And I think that if especially for a woman like me who is quite physically active, um, it it tells you a lot about how they have their lifestyle and how much they respect themselves and their body. Um, so I think that health is really, really important. Um, and not only that, like in terms of like your pheromones, etc., your testosterone levels, um, you're going to be attracting women much more easily if you are healthy. That is a given. So it doesn't mean you have to be going to the gym every day and looking like having a 6-pack, etc. That's You don't need to go to that extent whatsoever. But yeah, just doing some form of exercise or physical activity, getting outdoors, or yeah, and incorporating potentially some yoga or yeah, if that's not your thing, just having some level of physical activity and watching your diet as well is going to make a big difference. Yeah, absolutely.
Could one of our regulars tell us if Tess is breaking up? I'm just trying to work out whether it's me or Tess's internet or Tess or I's internet. Here's a comment. Turn down a threesome to read a Sarah Silverman book. I waste a lot of time also. I've turned down sex to read the great Russian writer Tolstoy. That's not a lie. Because I was so into his book. But yeah, I don't know if he's being sarcastic. I don't think I'd be turning down a threesome for a Sarah Silverman book. Do you want to get back to questions, Tess?
Yes.
Someone's calling us cradle robbers. Well, let's see. Just want to prey on younger women.
We're talking about, okay, guys, women their own
Women
age
their
can
own
see
age
through
can see through.
the BS.
Oh, is this a woman here?
I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman, but okay, not all women are open to dating older men, and that's for sure. And we've talked about that tonight as well. There are lots of women who are open to it, right? So yeah, obviously, if a woman's not open to dating with you, she'll make that very clear, and it'll be very, very obvious. But this is about telling you that there are a lot of women who are attracted to you. And I've had clients who after some training, they've like gone out to go yeah practice some skills, practice some approaches, etc. Go out, and they're not even interested in women who are like younger than a certain age, let's say, and they've been like surprised that women of all ages and a lot of really young women are just throwing themselves at them. So yeah, again, guys, like, it's not about preying on younger women. This is about women being open. Some women, a lot of women, being open to dating older guys. Some aren't, that's for sure. And it's not about preying on anyone. It's this is about having mutual interest and how to be coming across as your best self to the women who are interested.
If I can't, what's her name? A self or something? I've got the best eyes. Why is it preying? Why is it a predatory thing? I'm just curious about that. There's so many younger women who just only want to date older men. I've dated a few of them. They just refuse to date guys anywhere near their own age. I'm just wondering why it's considered predatory. We're not talking 16 or 17 or 12 here. We're talking women in their 20s. I'm just wondering why that's considered predatory. I would love to know. Next question, Tess, please.
Okay, question from MJ Hundy. Do you work to avoid bunny boilers, or is it all about the outcome? I have a habit of attracting them, and they're beautiful, but they belong in a room with Howard Hughes.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the service we provide our clients, because it's a giant thing. The more money a guy's got and the more busy he is and the less time he's got to allocate to learning the skills and getting better with women, the more likely it is he's going to get a girl who's really abusive and toxic. So yeah, when you just wait for the girls who land on your dick, when you go about filling your life with women very passively, it tends to go very, very, very badly. So yeah, we have to provide that service to guys. The number one pain men go through with women is not just jerking off to porn, depressed out of your mind, wanting to kill yourself. You come and you're like, oh, I didn't just do this again, did I? How can I spill my seed into a tissue? And is this all that's come of my life? Particularly if you're quite a successful guy outside of pleasuring yourself with your own hand to porn. That's a level of pain. But the level of pain where you think some woman loves you, you think you love her, you get back to building this amazing life together, and then she just gets nasty, and potentially she's a bad mother as well, and then she uses the kids as hostages against you, and then you make some big settlement offer. She goes, yeah, I'll take that, and then she changes her mind 2 weeks later, and lawyers come back saying, no, we want more. I've had guys where this has happened just over and over again for years on end. The pain these guys go through, or just when you're stuck with this toxic, abusive woman and you can't get her out there. So yeah, we have to help guys with bunny boilers. I think I'm quite good at it. Without going into too much detail, my childhood was a misery, and I had a girl who was lovely at the start who went like Amber Heard times 5 toxic on me. Some of the stuff she did to me and some of the stuff she did to my other female coaches was like, I can't say on YouTube, but it was just, there's no way anyone could ever be this nasty and vindictive. They are. Yeah, so we're very good at helping guys avoid toxic women. Next question, Tess.
Yes. Sorry, just one second. Oh, here we go. Question from Virtual. How can older men create strong sexual tension with younger women?
Just touch, eye contact, body language, good questions, listening, having a date plan, all the stuff we talk about relentlessly. If I was to put one of them at number one, it's probably going to be the eye contact. If you can really listen to her, hold good eye contact, maybe drop down to her lips every now and then, and not be afraid of her, not think of her as a younger woman and an object. Think of her as an interesting human being and really want to hear what she's got to say. I know the question was about younger women, but I'll talk about beautiful women. Beautiful women have this incredibly interesting perspective on life. I'm like one of my closest friends in Australia. He grew up in quite a nice family in Iran, and his family were they were on the side of the Crown Prince. And then when the crazy revolution happened, they were fighting this totalitarian religious fanatic government. But he also lived in a very traditional society. So he's a very interesting guy because he's lived this very interesting background compared to someone who grew up in a suburb in America or Australia. Equally, beautiful women live this incredibly fascinating and fucked up life where they sprout boobs and suddenly they're celebrities. They're like athletes or rock stars or billionaires, or it's like they've done nothing, but they've got all this attention, energy, and power simply because they successfully grew boobs. And then some of them just sort of use it and abuse it and get spat out the other end, basket cases. But others are like, yeah, life's different for me than it is for other people. And they sort of study it and they get quite introspective, and some of them start reading philosophy and literature. And some of them actually get recruited and become models at a young age and then fly around the world running their own businesses, being exploited by adults and being manipulated. And a lot of them become, they're 22, 23, and they're incredibly mature, younger, beautiful women. So how do you create strong sexual tension with women? Just respect her as a human being. I talked about one of the women in my life where the time I met her in a bar, half our conversation was her just giving me basically a comprehensive summary of the book Germs, Guns, and Steel, which I thought was really impressive. She could also play, I could just name a piece of classical music and like, whatever, Mozart, Piano Concerto number 23 or something. Oh, if you got a girl with great tits who's sitting naked playing the piano for you, you get her to play Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto number 1, because she's like, boom, 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 boom. And that's kind of, Tess didn't like that comment. And that's kind of a good, that's kind of a good look for the undulating boobs. Sorry, Tess, for calling you out on that.
No.
But yeah, if you get a girl who loves to play the piano for you naked, and I've had three of the greatest women in my life would play pianos naked. She wasn't the greatest woman in my life. I had another girl who played the piano, another girl who was a classically trained, quite accomplished opera singer. But anyway, bum, 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 bum. But anyway, no one likes my jokes about naked girls playing Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto #1, one of my favorite pieces of all time. So yeah, respect her as a person, respect her intellect, if that's valid, respect her rather unique life experience compared to other human beings. She's famous without ever actually having really done anything to earn it. And some of the girls become very, very interesting. Tess, do you want to add anything to that? How does a guy create sexual tension with you?
Yeah, I agree with what you said in the beginning, James. You know, the eye contact is huge, and it is really about confidence as well. We keep coming back to that, but yeah, how can older men create strong sexual tension? Yeah, again, I think also just presence, like being really present with a woman, and that include, you know, eye contact is a part of that, but listening really well, being really engaging and engaged with what she's talking about, and you know, giving her your focus when you're connecting with her, that can build strong sexual tension as well. Again, it comes back to a lot to confidence and how well you can get, you know, how confidently you can communicate with her. Yeah. Let's move on to another question. We go. Question from Ralph. Do you think most young women see relationships with older guys as just temporary? After all, big problems are very likely to come when the much older partner gets really old and lacks energy, etc.
That's a good question. There was a question earlier by someone about how important it is to stay fit and healthy, and I think that's quite important if you want to date younger women. Um, one of the reasons I date younger women is my entire life I've had more energy than pretty much every woman I've ever dated. There's only really been one girl that could keep up with me. I've been on dates with girls, you know, much more appropriate ages for me, but they're just there's just something they don't have, and I'm not talking about super firm tits or anything. They just don't have that energy and enthusiasm for life because I tend to go at quite a speed. So I don't think so. I mean, my dating life has tended to be, you know, sleep with quite a few girls a bunch at a time, meet one I really like, and then the others I'm seeing just sort of fall by the wayside. And I end up with her, I mean, sometimes for years and years and years. But I tend to start them young and then just sort of stay with them if they're good, or if I get stuck with them stupidly. I suppose there does come a time where, if you're talking about extreme age differences, where the partner's old and decrepit and the woman's sort of still in her 40s or 50s, I mean, that will, but I mean, I think I'm here to serve guys who are 55 who want a 30 or a 35-year-old or even a 40-year-old, not necessarily guys who are like, whatever, 60 and want a 18-year-old. I think that's a bit gross because that's a chasm of life. I mean, I shouldn't judge, but that's such a chasm of life experience. It sounds like a trade of money for sex. In some cases, women do see it because I know a Swedish girl, I've dated quite a few Swedish girls, their mums sort of coach them in how to sort of discover their sexuality, and they'll tend to recommend they go with an older guy. But yeah, I mean, sometimes there's just a good connection and it just works, and it's like a glove that fits well. You start with someone and you might not have intended it to last a long time, but then it does. Tess, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that women are, you know, if they're dating an older guy it's because they want to, and or they're at least open to it, you know. So for her to just see it as temporary, it's kind of case by case. But I think that when women are happy in a relationship, generally they want it to last. So so yeah, if the dynamic's good, then no, I don't think she'd just always like always see it as temporary. The thing is, when you have a partner who you're committed to, you make things work, and yeah, I guess as you get older, things might change, and you just adjust to that. Or yeah, there might naturally be a time where you're not as compatible anymore, due to um, age-related things. But that's just a part of the natural progression as well. It's not something you should really be too worried about, I think.
Actually, you give me another point. I think a bit of an age gap works very well. I always like to talk about divide 2 and add 7. So say you're a 50-year-old guy and you divide that by 2 is going to be 25, add 7 is 32. If you're, reasonably, I don't know, whatever, well-educated, got lots of energy, fit and healthy, you've done a bit with your life, you've still got lots of life in you at 50. I think if you're going to consider serious relationship and marriage, I think the age of 32 is probably a good fit for you, because you're probably at a similar stage emotionally than the woman is at 32. Because the thing is, women by their late 20s, they're so emotionally mature. They're proper adults in most cases, apart from the last 20 or 30 years of their lives when society's encouraged them to go out drinking and live like the Kardashians, whatever they do. I'm not really on top of it. Live this sort of stupid party lifestyle. But yeah, women just mature so quickly compared to men. I don't know how anyone could argue that point. Maybe I'm really immature, but most women are just so much more mature than men at such a big age difference. So I think there's a natural tendency where if you can date people when they're at the same sort of stage of emotional development, I think it's just going to work so much better. Because like an example I forgot to say earlier, when I was early 30s, I was pretty successful in finance and made some money, and I started traveling. And then I met the absolute love of my life. And I met her when I was like 33 or something. And I was in love with this girl. I was ready to marry her. I was ready to have a family with her. I'd never had anything like that. I haven't had that level of love since. But I screwed it up because I was addicted to traveling, and I couldn't not stop traveling, even though I couldn't let go of this girl. And I really hurt her badly, which is the worst thing I've done in my life. And then, I don't know, 20 girls after I met the love of my life, I met the greatest woman of my life. And it was the same thing. I just couldn't stop traveling. I mean, I was besotted with this girl. She's one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met. She's one of the smartest human beings I've ever met. But I really hurt her and upset her too, because whatever I was at this time, I was 35, 36, 37, 38. When I dated her, I'm like, I'm not going to stop traveling the world to be with one girl. That's crazy. Part of me thought I could, but I just couldn't, because I was so immature. It's like, and this is what happens. Women obviously have the hard glass ceiling of their biological clock, whereas us guys, I mean, we have that to an extent, but you can go on much, much later. So yeah, it's just a man who's got a bit going for him and a woman who's got a bit going for him. They're at such vastly different stages in life. And I think a society an age gap that society would now frown on, I think is the most obvious thing in the world. Now, I don't want to put people down, but if you're talking about bogans, a good old Aussie bogan, or rednecks, I think they call them in America, or chavs, where, they're just sort of getting, not the most educated. They don't really do much with their life. They're sort of watching the football and watching the TV and, think reading's, what would you read a book for when you get out of school, and thinks meditation's like some crazy shit you do in an orange robe. If it's that sort of person, then yeah, a much closer age range might work much, much better. Tess, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. I already spoke to this question. But yeah, no, I don't have anything to add. So
I probably talked a bit on that one.
Oh, that's okay. So let's move on to next question.
It's a great thing. I might just take up this one I saw. Women are not usually bothered by a man having a child because it shows other women wanted you. It actually makes you more attractive. That's comment of the night, Mr. New Guy, Captain Genius. You've got the right name. No, this really shocked me. I've spent the majority of the last 20 years in Sydney, and I obviously made friendships, slept with some girls, and then sort of kept track with them, hired female coaches. And it's been quite shocking to me, the number of the higher quality women I know in Sydney. And they seem to have naturally made a beeline to a guy who already had a family, already had kids, when there's obviously plenty of single guys around. So I think what Captain Genius says here is so true. We coach so many guys who've had families already. Some of them have teenage kids, some of them have kids in their 20s. They think, oh my God, what, and no woman's going to want me. I've got 3 kids and a toxic ex-wife, let alone a young, hot woman. They think it's just conspiracy theory talk that they could ever get a hot young woman. But if you look at what actually happens in practice, so many hot younger women actually go after. They seem to naturally end up with guys who've already got a family. I think Captain Genius has touched on it immediately. It's not only it shows the other woman wanted you, blah, blah, blah. It also shows you've got some real hardcore life experience and some real hardcore relationship experience. I should have said this at the beginning. One of the big reasons younger women go through for older guys is because the guy actually knows his way around a woman beyond a few nights. So, when there's ups and downs in a relationship, and there always is, when there's dramas, the guy's coming at it with a lot more emotional maturity. He doesn't freak out and drink a bottle of rum just because they have an argument, or go cheat on her if he's a desirable guy. So yeah, that's very, very, very important. The other aspect to his brilliant comment, that's comment of the night, is the fact that a good percentage of the guys are snapped up in their 40s or their 50s. So if they're drawing from a sample size of the most desirable men, a lot of these guys already do have kids anyway, if that makes sense. So yeah, excellent comment. Tess, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Yeah, it's about pre-selection. Like, if a woman, I think family values are really, really attractive to women, especially at a certain age. Women in their like later 20s, 30s for sure. I have friends who have kids and say that when they take their kids to the park, they're like, I can't believe how much attention I'm getting from like other mums and just women at the park when I'm there with my child, right? So yeah, women aren't bothered by men having children at all. In fact, it shows that, okay, this guy's got family values. Especially when we see how you're interacting with kids, or like, yeah, it may not be your own child. Also, like, a woman seeing you interact with with kids, she's definitely keeping note of what kind of person you are and how you handle that, and to a lesser extent with animals as well. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind for sure.
So what's better, a super cute designer label dog, not a puppy, dog, or your gorgeous little niece or nephew? What's gonna have more horsepower with the pretty young girls?
No, definitely. Oh, it's hard, but it depends on what kind of woman. Like, again, women who are more in thinking about kids, that sort of thing, and that's on their radar. Definitely the niece or nephew, 100%. The dog will work for like any age. Women, yeah. It's speak to any dog owners here. Let us know what it's like when you go walking your dog, how much attention you get from women of all ages. So I think that's an old trick.
Just a little James anecdote. With the love of my life, I was pretty damn good with the monkeys. Whenever a monkey came around, I'd charm it and make it my best friend. And I went on a tour with her, and there was this monkey that was basically caged off, and it actually I found out later it had put someone in hospital. And I went up, I went into the cage. How you doing, buddy? I just channeling to Steve Irwin, and I start playing with it, and he's sitting on my shoulder. This was a big monkey too. He could have really fucked me up if he wanted to. And he was so comfortable with me. And then the trainer, the handler, comes over, and he was really angry. I'm like, no, he's cool, he's cool, he's cool. Then my girlfriend, she comes near the monkey, and she must have been a bit nervous around him, and the monkey just grabbed her. So yeah, the fact that I was really good with animals, that carried a lot of weight. Yeah, it was yeah, he shouldn't have been around most humans, because as soon as there was a bit of nervousness, he sensed it and he went for you. I'll just share a little trick I did. This was the same girl. A restaurant I used to eat at a lot. How to get girls crazy attracted to you. This is how I did it. There was a restaurant I ate at regularly, and when I walked past it to go to where I was living, there was this sort of empty area, and it had sort of bars out the front. And for some reason, they had the biggest Rottweilers you've ever seen in your life. I honestly think these guys were 70 or 80 kilos. I've never heard a dog. It was like the deepest dog bark I've ever heard in my life. And what would happen is people would walk past, particularly at night, and these dogs would bark, and you just hear screams out of nowhere, like blood-curdling screams, and people would jump out on the road. They'd nearly get run over. So anyway, the dogs startled and scared the shit out of me the first time they barked at me at night. Then I'd leave breakfast and I'd just bring some food with me. So I'd save a bit of toast for the Rottweilers. So then I'd walk up to them, and then they'd look at me, and then I'd walk up to them, and then they just wanted to tear through the iron bars and kill me. They were obviously trained watchdogs. And I'd go, hola, because this happened in Spanish. And then they just sort of look at me like, why aren't you scared of me? Because everyone else was terrified of them. I mean, these were just some of the biggest dogs I've seen in my life. They must have fed them steroids. So anyway, I walked past a few times. Then eventually, once or twice, I just give them some food. And then I walk past, and then I don't know, it was 3 times I give them some food. Then I give them some food. And while they're eating the food, I sort of carefully stick my hand through the bars and start patting them. So they're sort of like, "Rrr." But they get back to the food. Then I do this a few times. Right, I'm constantly patting them. Then after a while, I can walk up and pat them without giving them food. They're my new friends. So anyway, she was a model. So I went out with her and her best model friend and her boyfriend, who was some sort of, I don't know, celebrity in that town, son of a rich man, and he'd done a bunch of stuff. I can't remember exactly. And we're walking past, and I knew what was likely to happen. And the dogs just freaked out, and she screamed, and he shat himself. And I just walked over and went, hola, hola, how you doing? And I start patting him, and they're just like, I look like Steve Irwin tackling a Tyrannosaurus Rex. That girl was so fucking attracted to me because, yeah, I tamed the 150 kilos. What's that? I don't even know. 370 pounds of Rottweiler. So little tricks like that you can use to get women hyper attracted to you. Which kind of fit in with the Steve Irwin joke, how Aussies are really good with animals. So hopefully that was worth 2 or 3 minutes of your life. But if you can contrive a way to get ferocious animals, to tame ferocious animals, that gets you a long way with the really pretty young girls. I've done similar genre of thing a few times. Anyway, next question.
Okay, a question from Martin. Do younger women care more about an older man's status or how he makes them feel?
Jesus Christ. Probably how he makes them feel is number one, but women do care about your status. There's no doubt about that. But so much of social coach, one of the things we teach, which I call social engineering, is how you become the high status guy in the environment, even if you're unemployed and you're on social security benefits or something. Because, yeah, you can, some guy who's the barista at a cool cafe, he's suddenly the high status guy, not the baristas and surgeons who come in and buy the coffee off him, or a guy who's driving a tour bus, or a guy who's playing 80s covers at some shitty suburban bar. He's the high status guy, even though he might live at home with his mum's basement. So yeah, there's ways you can contrive in a gym or a yoga studio or a tour group to become the high status guy. And that's a huge part of what we teach at Social Coach. So in direct answer to your question, potentially use a manipulative girl will be more interested in your status. A woman who's worth dating long term will be more interested in how you make them feel. Tess, do you want to give your catwalk model 2 cents on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with exactly what James has said. How they make them feel, absolutely is the most important thing. I think the status is more about initial attraction or attention that you're drawing from women, right? But yeah, if you've just approached her and she hasn't necessarily she knows nothing about your status, then that's a different story. Once you've already got rapport with a woman and you're dating her, etc., it's not at all about status. It's about how you make them feel. I mean, obviously, status can contribute to that, but it's more around your ability to network or socially engineer, like what James was talking about as well.
Next question, Tess.
Okay, Anthony is asking, what is the real difference between confidence and arrogance when dating younger women?
Okay, I don't know that there is, to tell you the truth. My female trainers did a good definition on this. Where confidence ends and arrogance begins, I don't know. Some examples of iconic people of our lifetime. Steve Jobs was absurdly confident. Did he border on arrogance? Michael Jordan, in terms of dominating his craft, was probably confident on a level that no one I can think of off the top of my head's ever been. So are they arrogant? What some of my female coaches and what women have put forward is arrogance is slightly misplaced confidence, where a guy is confident beyond what he should be, or where there's a little bit of insecurity behind the confidence. Does that make sense? So Tess, do you want to pick up on that with your 2 cents?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because confidence is super attractive. I think arrogance to me is a bit more when it's about how you treat other people. Like being confident is one thing, but treating other people like they're below you, that is arrogance. And that is definitely not attractive. Yeah, I think having supreme confidence, but still treating other people with respect and being a good human, that's great. You don't want to cross the line where you're like, oh, well, I look down on other people I'm disrespectful to other people.
Great. Tess has done a much better job than me on that one. So if you start to look down on other people, that's where Tess believes it becomes arrogance, which is an excellent definition. Steve Jobs probably was definitely arrogant. I mean, Michael Jordan was probably quite arrogant in the way he treated other players. Arrogance is overcompensation. That's a great comment from MJ Hundy. What's his name? Steve Jobs bought his way in, and Michael Jordan was a cocaine dealer. Okay. And Steve Jobs grew up with no money. He was adopted. He wasn't poor. He couldn't even afford to go to a fancy university. So I'm not sure how he bought his way in. And if Michael Jordan also managed to deal coke on the side as well as what he achieved in basketball, it's even more impressive. I don't think he did somehow. He was extremely angry at the people in the Chicago Bulls who who were using cocaine, because he just wanted to win. Next question, Tess.
Okay. Sean Maloney, welcome. So hi Tess and James, how can you improve your social cues with women if you have a bit of tism, possibly a speed date? So tism is autism, James.
I mean, I've probably got a bit of that myself. I'm quite properly noise sensitive and I'm light sensitive. And a few of my ex-girlfriends have suggested that I kind of like my spoon, or I like my things in the way I kind of like my things in a certain way, or I'm happy to eat the same food like 300 days in a row, and I get a bit frustrated if it's changed or I have to come up with something new. So it really depends how far along you are on the spectrum. I mean, we must have coached hundreds and hundreds of guys with autism. Some of them quite noticeable. Some of them talked about it openly. I mean, that's essentially what Tess and Natalia and Val and Jackie's job is. It's to figure out what your deficiencies are and help you work with them. The most typical autism thing is you'll struggle a bit in reading signals relative to the average guy. I mean, pretty much every guy is autistic at reading signals. I mean, most of us are terrible. I'm luckily not, because of sales and a few other things, and a lot of public speaking, and also a bit because of my fascination with Charles Darwin. So yeah, it's just really about working on your conversation skills. I mean, yeah, the honest way to answer that is in the role plays you do with my female coaches, they will pick up things you're missing. If you say stupid things, if you're not listening well. A good example is you go, oh, so Tess, what you got planned for the weekend? And she says, oh, I'm going to do a yoga class, have dinner with my mum. I'm going to go paragliding on Sunday. Really looking forward to that. And you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, anything else happening? Or you ask about yoga when she was so enthusiastic about paragliding. So this, so much of what we do is help you guys get good at reading this. I mean, for the guys who do private training and some on the boot camp, we literally make you go on speed dates with a whole bunch of our female coaches and then coach you to improve on that. Hopefully that helps. Tess, do you want to add your perspective, because you do this 20 times a week, 15 times a week?
So obviously, so reading signals is a huge one, and we, as part of what we do, that's that's in our content. We've got some content on YouTube as well around that stuff that's probably worth looking at. But yeah, also cues in conversation, like what James talked about, like anytime she's talking about using really emotive language, or like giving away stories about her childhood, or personality traits, etc. Those sorts of things, they're great to pick up on. So just we give you techniques of how to deepen connection with her through conversation, just through like the words that she's saying, what she's giving you. But in terms of social cues, that is really around like the tonality of her voice and when she's talking, but about certain different things, different topics, but also body language signals, which we cover quite heavily as well. So if that's something you struggle with, it's just something we practice, and it's something you can definitely learn. Speed dating is, I wouldn't say that would be a first port of call for social cues. That's a great place to practice conversation skills, but I wouldn't necessarily start there for social cues.
Next one, Tess.
Cool. Okay, a question from Martin. What's the biggest turn on for younger women when it comes to older men's behavior?
Confidence, and more confidence. That's the reason they're going older men, because they want confidence the vast majority of the time. They value the much more relationship experience, but they don't want to date younger guys because they're not confident. And that was massively true of me. The difference in confidence between early 30s and late 30s was staggering. And I'd say it's true for a lot of you guys. I started, when I appeared, I said, would you date yourself at 25 or 20? Are you more dateable now, even if you've got a bit of a gut and you've got some gray hair? Confidence. There's other things like you might have assumed he's been around the bush around the block a few times. He knows a few things in bed, but yeah, the biggest turn on is just confidence, lack of insecurity, more emotional maturity, more relationship experience, more life experience, more that you can actually teach her and give her. I mentioned, for those of you watching 20 minutes ago, a girl I dated when she was 22 as a fly around the world model. She just said, why would I ever date a guy in his 20s? It would be madness. What can he possibly offer to give me? What can he possibly offer to give me? He's of no value to me in most cases. And the guy she loved before me was 42 when she was 19. Tess, do you want to add anything to biggest turn-ons for younger women when it comes to older men's behaviour?
I was going to say exactly the same thing. It's just about confidence, self-esteem, the way you carry yourself, yeah, and your ability to connect, absolutely, yeah.
And I founded Social Coach in 2006 to give you the confidence and your ability to connect with beautiful women and also men in your industry and whoever the hell you want to. So that's what we do. So anyone's interested in turbocharging their confidence and their sex life and potentially their professional life, click the link, book a date with Tess, and we'll make you super confident, or you get your money back plus 1,000%. Next one up.
Yeah, so for anyone who has just joined, I'm just going to quickly, we've had a bunch of new people join, so I'm just going to quickly put that in the chat again. That's the link where you can yeah, get some feedback with me straight away on your dating. So I'm just going to quickly pin that at the top of the chat as well, so it's there for everyone. Okay, next question is from Anthony, who asks, how do younger women test an older man's confidence early on?
Fantastic. Yeah, calling out his age is one of the biggest ones. You're too old to me. You're as old as my father. You got grey hair. You just want me for my body. You just want to have sex with me. They'll do all this sort of stuff. I mean, things that happen to me often is I've talked about women's tests where maybe I've looked a girl up and down. She's sort of looked at me and we've held eye contact for a second or two. Then whatever, at some point I've gone over and talked to her because it's an invited approach. She's sort of just like ignores me for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, then eventually talks to me. But if I sort of stand like a statue and just wait for her, nearly all the time she'll be really excited I came over. But what she's doing is it's a simple women's test where if Tess looks at me and maybe flicks, we'll just try to role play it here. Just sort of give me a few sexy model poses as if you want me to come over. And then eventually, I come over 5 minutes or 2 minutes later, like, hey, how you doing? I'm James. What's your name? And then she's just like, and if I just stand there without getting nervous at all and just hold the pose, then eventually she'll come around. This has happened to me dozens and dozens of times, probably a lot more than that. So she might hold you out for, 3, 5 seconds. If a girl just ignores you for 5 seconds, okay, this is the genius. If a girl sort of signals me to come over and I come over, and I'm a bit older or same age, doesn't matter, and she holds me out for 5 seconds, she just pretends I'm not there, ignores me, pretends it's not happening, and I stand there like a statue just waiting for her, even for 5 seconds, I've just flown past 98% of men. Does that make sense? I would guess 98% of Australian men would never stand there for 5 seconds with their hand out in front of a crowd of people, potentially being humiliated. I would. So immediately that signals to the girl that the guy who does that probably has a very good grounding in female psychology before. He's probably dated girls every bit as attractive as her, possibly more. He's almost certainly much better in bed. Tess, I've probably covered a lot of the key points. Do you want to add anything to that? I'll come up with some other ways to test him in a second.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be, yeah, either calling out things or saying absurd things to see, test how you handle that, or yeah, just being cold and putting up barriers, etc. That would be the early tests for sure.
Some other common things I've had is where I ask her out on a date and she cancels on me at the last minute. And most guys get all sort of huffy and puffy and who are you? And you don't, you know how busy I am. Well, I mean, I get a bit pissed too. Um, but I just sort of go, okay, no worries. You had to wash your hair. You told me an hour before. Shit happens. I don't say that. I'm like, okay. And then what I do is I'd probably just not pay any attention to them for a week or something. Then something would come up and I'd just shoot them a text. It might be, hey, saw this thing about, if it was Tess, I saw this thing about the champion girl paraglider, or I saw this thing about some great surf spot. And I just relate that to what our conversation was when I met her. Then she might message back. I go, hey, well, I'm just doing XYZ on the weekend. You want to join? She's like, yeah, I'll come. And she's so keen because she stood me up, knowing most guys get all prissy and, oh, yeah, she's got no respect for me, blah, blah, blah. Whereas a small percentage of guys who dated hot girls before would realize, oh, it was just a game to see if I get it. And then whatever. And then sex has often come very, very easily and quickly, and girls have got really attracted to me after I've jumped through those little hurdles. There's a bunch of others, but these are ones I tend to use really often. Anything you want to add, Tess, or do we jump on to the next one?
No, let's move on because we've got quite a few questions and we are yeah, I want to get through them all. So Landon asks, how can an older man show dominance without coming across as controlling?
Unfortunately, these things all just get back to confidence. There's other things you can do, like put your hand on the small of her back, lead her across the street, take control, have a very good date plan. We won't get too much into the bedroom, but if a girl gets into bedroom with you and it's very clear you know exactly what you're doing and you're very sure about what you're doing, that's one of the biggest things of all. And you just got to watch out for not being too controlling. I'm just trying to think of examples where they're no one's ever told me too controlling. I think controlling is when older guys with money get into relationships with girls and then they start laying down rules about what you can and can't wear or what time you need to come home. I mean, I've told younger girls that you really need to dress like that when we're out in public together. But I never, when they were out on their own, I never bothered about it. I said, you wear whatever the hell you want. But when you're with me, I don't need to be the center of attention the whole fucking time. And I've sort of subtly hinted that a girl who's showing an inch of her ass and massive cleavage and is tight and in high heels and makeup every time she goes out in public, I've subtly hinted that might be a sign of insecurity. Not in a just to get what I want so that I can date the hot girl, but she puts a pair of jeans and a sweater on rather than crazy little skirts the whole time. Because I mean, if you're dating tall, hot girls, it's I don't know. I've never driven around in a Lamborghini, but it must just be another level of ordeal you have to go through everywhere you go. And it's probably fun for a while, but then it gets really, really old. Tess, do you want to comment about how a man can show dominance without coming across as controlling?
Yeah, obviously I think dominance and being controlling are two different things. Being the leader, having a plan, like what James said, that's super attractive, and that's going to work really well for increasing attraction. But yeah, being controlling is like the opposite of that. You'll push her away straight away. So yeah, it's exactly what James said. You can't be yeah, like controlling comes across as insecurity, because why do you feel the need to control what she's doing or what she's wearing or where she's going, etc. It's because you're insecure about her, who she might meet or whatever. So yeah, you need to allow her to have complete freedom, but within the confines of what your commitment to each other is. But yeah, be the leader, take that leadership role. That's what women find attractive in men. That's a very masculine role to take, and it's going to add to the dynamic of the relationship in a positive way. Okay. Did you have something you wanted to address, James? Looks like you've got something on your mind.
Oh, I was just wondering, am I breaking up or is Tess breaking up? Did we get any comments about that?
No one seems to have said anything about us breaking up. No.
Oh, you're breaking up for me. It's probably more like, I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on with it. What was the next question?
Oh, here we go. MJ Hundy saying you're breaking up more often.
Me? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Oh, here we
MJ
go.
Hundy.
Just a bit. Landon says not breaking up to me. James Moore. Okay, so maybe there's a little bit of lagginess both ways, but yeah. James, your audio seems fine, but the image freezes every now and then, but not majorly.
I'm staying at the Meriton Hotel, which you think could give me decent internet. That's absurd. Anyway, I never thought to check staying here. Let's keep going anyway.
Okay. Okay, so how can a man who isn't naturally confident translate their character into something resembling the confidence that isn't naturally there? Introverts may struggle, but maybe high value, but not showy.
I apologize to everyone. I'm just putting my camera definition down a notch. I might just read it again myself. How can a man who is naturally confident translate their character into something resembling the confidence that isn't naturally there? Introverts may struggle, but they may be high value but not showy. There's sort of two questions there. It's the stuff we talk about often. High-level conversation skills, touch, eye contact, body language, confident body language, styling yourself in a confident way, listening to people, just all that stuff. That is what Tess and Natalia and all the girls teach on Zoom. We teach on boot camps. Like I wasn't particularly confident for a long time in life, but then I got a job in sales and I had to learn public speaking, which when I started was terrifying. And then I traveled independently for years. And then out of all that stuff, I became, I don't know, many girls have said you're the most confident man I've ever met. So it's just because of a bunch of experiences. But what I've done is I've tried to distill the key learnings and skills I got to go from not very confident to whatever some people say extremely confident, to distill that into sort of a system that I could pass on to other guys. I'm probably naturally introverted. If you look at the greatest thing in the world for me is just wandering into some shithole third world village or country where I'm the only white guy with a backpack, having no freaking clue where I'm going to sleep or who I'm going to meet, whose bed I'm going to sleep in if I'm pretty good. But the thing I enjoy next is just listening to classical music and reading literature. So, and I'm full on with the 1,400 page books. So I'm probably very introverted at my core, but they're just skills I've learnt to overcome that. Tess, you tend to be moving up and down a bit. I'm not sure why. Just like there's a lot of guys who are bullied savagely when they're young. They might have an older brother, might have been bullied at school. Then they go down the martial arts route. And then they get to a point where they can kick the living shit out of anyone. So I'm sort of like that. I became a tough guy when it comes to social confidence because I was, so pathetic for such a long time. So translate their character. Basically, you get the core skills: touch, eye contact, body language, conversation skills, reading signals, styling yourself properly, listening. You get those key skills, and then your own character just shines through with those skills are sort of the scaffolding or the framework for your own skills to come through. I think what I'm saying is good, but I don't know if I'm expressing it as perfectly as I could. Introverts may struggle, but they may be high value but not showy. A lot of people are high value but not showy. Yeah, I mean, the guys who are flaunting their wealth are oftentimes the ones who don't have that much wealth. I mean, I think the Google guys were driving Toyota Priuses or something. I know a lot of rich people who drive Toyota Priuses. Tess, do you want to talk more about this? This is a good question, but it deserves some attention.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. There's a lot that you can learn and that we teach that that works really well for introverts, because it's not necessarily about being the loudest person in the room, or you don't necessarily have to be the guy who can connect with absolutely everyone. But if you're able to connect with a woman and be present with her, as in listen really well, and be engaging, that comes across as really confident, because you're just communicating and connecting really confidently. But also just body language things, simple things like posture, style as well. Yeah, just minimal fidgeting, all these things. So yeah, if you're an introvert and you struggle, you know, you've got anxiety around this stuff, it's just, yeah, there are a few simple skills that you can learn that will help you really stand out to women and come across as naturally confident, or you know, high level of self-esteem as well. Yeah.
I want to handle this question now. I just saw it. James, you dated lots of Russians. Are Russian women different to Aussies to date? Yes, just small amount. No, they're completely different. I mean, before I answer this question, I've got to sort of defend Russian girls. A lot of Russian girls who end up in Australia and in some parts of America, not New York, they're just attractive girls, sometimes from a village, who've managed to get their claws into a guy who stayed with them for 2 years, and they cut him loose. So yeah, I don't want to be you get some really gold diggery Russian girls. There's no doubt about that, clutching their Louis Vuitton bags, blah, 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 blah. So there's that genre of Russian woman, which I've completely avoided. The ones I've dated, in terms of the two best, they were girls from upper middle or extreme upper class Moscow and St. Petersburg families. One of them was literally from the cultural elite of Russia. And yeah, the number one thing about Russian girls is you must be mans. They are relentless at testing you and keeping you in line. If they see one piece of weakness, they'll just steamroll you, and they'll keep pushing and pushing to make sure there's no weakness there before they can relax. Once they feel they can relax, in my opinion, they're just wonderful girls. They're so cultured, so philosophical, so literary, so feminine, so graceful. Both my Russian girlfriends were very good dancers. One of them was a classically trained ballerina. One of them had an extraordinary chest and played piano beautifully. Like, I could just say pieces and she could do a really good job of playing them. And yeah, the one I valued more, I mean, she was so intelligent, like freakishly intelligent. So yeah, it's very different. They're much more demanding than Aussies to date by a long, long, long way. I keep saying Bolshevik Revolution, Stalin, Lenin, gulags. They require a lot more in a man. But I think once you get on side with them, they can be very, very loyal girlfriends, as long as you don't, as long as you never sort of slip up and get weak and feeble. If you do, they're going to just fry you. I don't think she minds me saying, but Natalia told me a story how one of my other female coaches, they went to do the Bondi Coogee walk, and this like fly around the world champion kickboxer is sitting bawling his eyes out to Natalia going, why doesn't my girlfriend respect me? And he was an Aussie guy dating a Russian girl. So yeah, you've got to be a man. And one of the reasons I've had so much success with American Australian women is I learned to make love with the Latinas. I learned a few little games and tricks, a bit about style from the French, and I learned to be a man with Russians, which is probably the best education possible to be a dating coach, I think. Tess, you probably don't want to add anything to that. You might want to give the Aussie girl comfort. It's
I
up
haven't
to you.
dated any Russian women, no.
You miss out. You miss out on special ladies. And there was a follow-on to the Russian question I've lost. Russian women love money more than Filipinos. Watch out. That is true. Real missuses. Is this a woman or a man? That is true, but I think it's for the larger group, the gold diggery ones with clutching their Louis Vuitton bags. The ones, I mean, the second best Russian girl, I arranged a tour for her. I can't remember how much it cost, $500 or $600. And I went out and talked to a few tour guides and picked something and coordinated it all, did a date plan. And I get back, she goes, how much was tour? I go, oh, whatever the number was, $550. And she just goes to a suitcase, pulls out $550 and gives it to me. I said, yeah, but I'm going to pay half. She goes, don't worry, you organize. She goes, no, don't worry, I don't need it. So she just didn't care about money because her dad was very wealthy. So yeah, there's the cliched Russian, but I didn't really have experience with them. I had the St. Petersburg and Moscow girls. But a lot of the cliches about the other Russians are probably well earned. That's a really good point too. Russians, why aren't you smiling? We don't smile here. Yeah, if you actually live in Russia for a while, it's like they could break out into a street fight at any time. They are so cold and rude to strangers. But on the other side is if you're introduced to a group of Russian people, it's like your instant family. The relationships are just so deep compared to Australia and America. Next question, Tess.
A question from Bertraw says, he says, do younger women prefer older men who lead strongly or give them more freedom?
Both.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They don't, it's not the other.
I find Andrew Tate incredibly entertaining, and he's basically a genius. How he was a nobody who became one of the most famous people in the world by getting other people to share his content. And if you look at his understanding of women relative to a lot of the major YouTubers, he's definitely in the top little bit. But one of the things he's big on is when he's dating a woman, she must be 100% loyal to him. So where I disagree with Andrew Tate, he says when he's dating a woman, she has to be 100% loyal to him. I can't remember his exact quote. She's definitely allowed to sleep with other men, and she's not really allowed to talk to them, look at them, blah, 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 blah. These are all Andrew Tate's requirements. He's obviously rich and famous, so he may be able to impose these on women and get away with it. But I've dated multiple women nearly all of my life. I've never really said, yeah, okay, I'll be monogamous with you, apart from once. And I've had bisexual girls as well, and I'm seeing other girls. I've never for 1 second told a girl she wasn't allowed to cheat on me. Why would I ever do that? That's insane. I'm just giving her a license to impose a whole bunch of rules and regulations on me. It's crazy. So the last thing you want to do is start to restrict a girl's sexual freedom. What you want to do is be so confident and so good in the bedroom that the thought of her sleeping with another guy wouldn't even register as something she'd want to do. And that's what I've done. So, yeah, once I've slept with a girl a few times, it's been almost non-existent that I've ever had them use jealousy as a tool to test me. Partially because, I mean, one girl said, so what would you do if I slept with someone else? I said, I'll be good. It'd be free advertising. Just come running back to me in no time. I said that. And one of my female coaches who's on the YouTube channel said, you were the most arrogant man in the whole world. But it made no difference to her desire to fuck me for years after that. So, yeah, arrogant isn't necessarily an insult when it comes to women. Every time I've been called arrogant, I've either said to myself or in some cases said to other girls, I've said, most of the time some girl calls me arrogant, it means she wants to have sex with me. And then they go, yeah, you're kind of right. So, yeah, I don't know. Tess, I've sort of not... You've got to give women freedom. You can't start trying to take away women's freedom. Otherwise, what's next? You're going to put them in a burqa? I don't think you can ever take away a woman's freedom. And if you do it, you're going to do it very carefully, but you still want to lead strongly. So I don't see these two things as mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Tess, do you want to help me with this?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yes, women prefer men who lead strongly, who also give them freedom. It's not like one has to negate the other. I think that a woman who's feeling fulfilled in that relationship doesn't necessarily, like, she wouldn't be looking to be with someone else if she's fulfilled with one person. So in freedom in that sense, if you're talking about freedom, I don't know, you should never restrict a woman's freedom in any sense, I think. It's, again, she doesn't want to be looking to be with other people if she's fulfilled, and being a strong leader in a relationship will help towards that. So
yeah, a bunch of the red pill guys are like that too. They're like, oh, a woman's with me, she can't be with anyone else. If she even looks at another guy, let alone goes on a date with another guy, she's dumped. I mean, that's to me, in my view, that's the dumbest thing you could ever do, because the second you express one little bit of jealousy or one little attempt to take away some of their freedom, they are going after you with women's tests with bells on. You've signed up for basically, it's sort of like poking a wasp's nest with a stick, just waiting to be bitten a million times. It's so stupid. In my view, it's so infantile with women. But a lot of the red pill guys with huge followings, they're promoting this, women must be completely loyal to me. I won't tolerate one little bit of disloyalty. I'm just like, dude, you're signing yourself up for a nightmare. Sorry?
It just comes across as so insecure. If you're like, if you have to control her to that extent, it's you're showing that you're scared that she's going to leave. Whereas if you know that she's not going to leave you because you're the kind of person who fulfills her in the relationship, then it's not a problem. You shouldn't even be worried about that at all. You don't have to set rules around it. It's just, it's part of, it's just, it's presumed. So okay, let's move on. Really nice comment from Martin here. Great things are happening and I'm attracting positive experiences. Thanks, James and Tess. Just being part of these YouTube live events and having dates with Tess, I'm learning to be higher value. Awesome. That's really great to hear, Martin. Thank you so much for sharing. We do have, I feel like we're running short of time today. MJ Hundy says, you keep answering my questions after I've posted them. I feel great shame. Sorry about that, MJ Hundy. We've got a lot of questions rolling through and it's hard for us to keep on top of them. So I kind of have to be systematic about it and just do them in order. So sorry if we're not answering them immediately, but we are trying to get through as many as we can. Okay. Question from Ralph. What's the German, James? I'm curious. I'm German.
That's where, when she goes to the beautician, she doesn't get the Brazilian. My German accent's terrible. I haven't dated a German girl for a long time. The Brazilian is when a girl goes to get her bits waxed and it's just complete landing strip. She gets it all off. I said, I'm not really into pedophilia. I think it's gross. So I'm not going to turn down a Brazilian, but I prefer the German. That's where it's pretty clean and tidy. There's no little nasty surprises hidden there. But there's a wee bit of a little Adolf Hitler just over the bits, so that you know she's actually an adult. So that's my favorite of the genital haircuts, if you want to put it that way. So yeah, I nicknamed it the German myself, which I thought was kind of amusing. I don't know if anyone else did. Some girls just thought I was being not very woke and politically insensitive. So if anyone thought calling a woman's what's the word for it? Genital lawn mowing. If anyone considered calling it a German, just a little bit of the Adolf Hitler above the bits, if they thought that was at least 2 or 3 out of 10 funny, if you could give me some love in the comments, it would be really good for my insecure ego, which isn't really insecure.
I'm thinking it's like the landing strip, right? But like maybe
just a little tiny one, just like Adolf.
Landing strip. Okay.
I need to pick on German. It could be Charlie Chaplin. I could call it a silent movie, but I think it's funnier calling it a German, because then the complete landing strip's called a Brazilian.
Okay.
It's another country.
So, yes, I get it, James. Thank you for explaining. And Ralph, you now know what the German is. Okay, so
sometimes my jokes are so bad, when I try really hard to explain them, I actually get a laugh that I couldn't get with the initial joke. So I'm just fighting for whatever I can get. The guys get to see your pretty smile anyway. Thanks, Martin. I've got one fan out of the 1,607 people who've tuned in. So thanks. 1 out of 1,600 is not the best ratio.
Okay, Simon's asking, will there be a replay of this? Yes, this will be available to access on YouTube after we finish tonight.
YouTube, you get up in about 20 minutes or less.
Yes, exactly. Okay, sorry. Jay Will, welcome, says, if you're an older man capable of dating a younger woman, that means you really have your stuff together. Older women are easier to date.
Yeah, that's true. It's just a skill set and ability. I mean, that's so much what tonight's about. It's the belief that younger women want older, confident men, and it's the ability to become confident, which if you watch enough of these YouTube lives and implement some stuff, you'll probably get much better at. If you book a date with Tess, you'll probably get dramatically better at quickly. Yeah, it's so much of its evolution. I'll just do this very quickly. If you go back, say, prior to the 70s, so much of human dating was much older men with younger women, because the women needed some level of resources in order to make sure their offspring was safe. And generally speaking, they weren't provided by the state or the government or Social Security. A young guy, no matter how hunky or hot he was, he just didn't provide the women any level of security when they wanted to have children when they're in their teens or 20s. So they obviously had to go for guys much older than them. I think it was from one book I read, it might have been Germs, Guns and Steel or Sapiens. It takes 50,000 years for our brain chemistry to change that much. We're carrying around an operating system designed for not even a hunter-gatherer lifestyle on the African savannas. So yeah, young women are programmed to want older, high-status men. It's like some of the most profound programming there is. And I think in the last, whatever it is, 40, 50 years, there's been an effort by large, powerful groups of people, including corporations that want to sell us a bunch of stuff, to try to change that and try to sort of drag the sexes apart. And anyway, I'm getting a bit carried away there. So yeah, I believe older women are very, very easy to date. I have older clients who can run through them at a ferocious rate off dating apps who are still not confident enough to get the younger women. Oh, Tessa's got some fans.
Thanks, Martin. Thank you so much. That's
Supermodel smile.
okay. I'm just seeing if there are any questions. We've kind of covered a lot of this stuff, so I'm just trying to pick anything we haven't covered. What do younger women?
I just put this one up quickly. I just saw it then.
There's another one
I'm
I've found.
62 years old. Over 24 years. I've had more younger women come on to me in the last few years than ever. I really don't know why. That's interesting. I touched on earlier. I'm 55 nearly. I'm not in the best shape now because I've had a bit of been in wheelchairs and broken ribs and broken toes and chronic mold poisoning and lymphatic buildup in this last year. I've had a hard run. But most people say I'm crazy healthy, energetic for my age. And I kept thinking when I got into my late 40s and early 50s and mid 50s, it would get much harder with women in their 20s. I don't think it has. I really don't think it's made much difference. So I think if you're an extremely healthy, well-presented, confident older man, I think if anything, it gets a bit easier. And I think that gets back to the evolutionary stuff I was talking about, where women's brains are hardwired to want high status, super confident older men. Question?
Yeah, another question here from Virtual. What do younger men mean? Sorry, what do younger women mean when they say they want a man who gets it?
Excellent. I might let Tess lead with that because she's the one who put into my mind that what's the most important thing and what's the number one skill a man can learn to get better with women? I would say ask good open-ended questions. That's a mechanical skill that's going to open up so much. You probably want to make sure if you're an Aussie or most Americans, you clean up your style. Most of you suck. Reading signals is up there as well. Tess said, no, you're wrong, James. She didn't directly contradict me. She said the most important thing is female psychology. This is my words, not Tess's. But what I think she meant was by having the female psychology, that puts a framework around all these skills that whatever James teaches, James created and put together and assembled. That puts the framework whereby it all fits together and you can use it effectively and understand the different tools we're giving you. So an older man who gets it, he just understands that women test men, women have ups and downs. The way women act in dating where there's games, they want to be chased, you can read signals. Tess, do you want to save me? I'm not doing as well as you probably would on this particular answer.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a guy who can, yeah, who gets it. Yeah, it's around female psychology and it's a lot around passing our tests as well. So, when a guy is able to like diffuse our tests and he knows how to handle those things, that's hugely attractive to us because we're like, oh, okay, well, he's obviously has it kind of denotes that he has experience with women because he's handled these things before. He's confident and secure in himself, and he also, he has boundaries. Like he's not going to put up with those things. So, and that means that we will stop testing when you pass our tests, and we realize that you get it. We stop testing. So it's just about that really comes down to understanding female psychology, but also your experience with women in general. Yeah.
Some great comments, Tess. Pick any of
Go
them.
for it, James, because I'm just sifting through things now. I'm trying to get through as much as
Any
we can.
European has objectively more substance and depth than Australian women. Look at the history and culture by comparison. As a generalisation, you're right, but you still get some really wonderful Australian women. I think you've got one in front of you who, surprise, surprise, is my head coach. And with globalisation, the idea that European women have this massive advantage culturally in terms of being women over Australian women, I don't think that's as true as it might have been 50 years ago. I think the country you come from is obviously going to make an impact. I think it's more your choices in life. So like Tess and Natalia, two of my coaches, Ms. Natalia's Russian. Tess, how many things have you done? You've done pottery, you've done paragliding, you've skydived, you've hiked, you've camped, you've traveled to whatever it is, 40 countries, you've played whatever, the guitar or the piano. She's done a huge number of different things. So she's not just some fool, sorry, I shouldn't say that, watching makeup videos all day and posting shit on Instagram, which is a lot of girls. Now, because of globalization and the American cultural imperialism, I sound like a wanker academic here, French girls and Belgian girls and Italian girls, they're starting to behave like Americans. They're lining up for Subway. I mean, fucking Starbucks sells coffee in Italy, I believe, and France. How the fuck is that even possible? I mean, they invented the shit. Just the US marketing machine is so powerful, and the globalization is meaning that, you can't just say that, there's no good women in Australia and they're all in Europe. There probably still is proportion-wise, but I think who a woman is or who a man is comes down much more to their own personal preferences and what they've. Tess, how much TV how much Channel 7 and Channel 9 and Channel 10 have you watched in the last year?
Little to none.
Very little. I mean, there's one metric you could use. How much Coke have you done in the last 5 years?
Okay, I'll be honest. I have had a little bit in the last 5 years, but it's definitely not something I do very often. This is like once in a blue moon.
Could you count your lines on one hand?
Yes, in the last 5 years, yes.
Yeah, there's lots of girls who do this every week. I'm not saying anything wrong with drugs. I had a death experience in ayahuasca a short time ago, so I'm all for certain drugs and against many others. Particularly the ones they make in laboratories. You don't know what the hell is going on with them. Well, here's one. I might just pick a few random ones. We're getting late. That's funny. I don't like psychological games dealt with the government too much. I don't quite understand that. Women unfortunately play psychological games. It's just is having children for previous relationship. Have we done that one when dating younger women?
Yes, we have. Yeah. We have. Cool. We talked about that one. Okay, sorry guys. We've had a whole bunch of
I've heard it's not malicious when women test you. A lot of time. Oh, this is a good comment. Yes, you can get the time up. A lot of times they're subconscious. They're trying to see if they can trust you and find safety in you. 100%. We did a YouTube live last week and I had a bunch of guys in the comments going, yeah, women who play games with men must be damaged and psychologically ruined and all this stuff. It's just nonsense. It's like if you see a pretty girl and she's got a great rack and a beautiful face and you're like, oh, I wonder what her bum looks like. And you want to have a quick look at that. That's women testing you. They just want to see what you got. If you seem confident and you're interacting with other people and you're well presented, you think, oh, I'm really sexually attracted to him. I wouldn't mind sucking his maybe dating him. She needs to find out whether you're as confident and sure of yourself as you appear. So she just sets a few little traps for you. Now, there's some women who use this ability to set traps to torment guys, but there's a lot of women who'll do quite a bit of testing at the start, and then it'll sort of drop off a lot as she gets more comfortable with you. Then if you drop your guard or things get tricky in the relationship, she'll start testing you again. It's just what they do. And a lot of times they say they don't even know they're doing it. Tess, you want to talk about the whole point, but particularly how you test guys without knowing you're doing it. Before you do that, because I was dating a lot of hot girls, I had 2 bi girlfriends, and I was surrounded by models for like 15 years, because I was in an environment where there was quite a bit of testing going on. I started testing. I realized an hour later, what did I do that for? I was just playing games with that girl. So I did it unconsciously as well. So I can speak as a vehemently heterosexual male that I start testing quite skillfully, I might add, when I'm around a whole bunch of women. So yeah, it's just something you do, because when you're around a bunch of women, if you want to get your own way or you want to impose status in the group, you want to take leadership, you don't start punching them in the face and breaking their nose or putting them in chokeholds. That's what men do. Whereas women, it's much more subtle, and that's where a lot of women's tests come in. Tess, do you want to address this?
Yeah, absolutely. This is spot on. Women do this. A lot of them do it consciously, but a lot of tests are subconscious, and it's us either acting out on impulse. Sometimes if that's like a validation test or a intention test, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's also just observation, like observing how you handle a situation when things don't necessarily go to plan, or when something bad happens, a stressful situation arises, let's say, and just seeing what testing your character, let's say. So sometimes women will kind of construct those stressful situations for you, just to see how you handle it. And but it's, again, exactly what you've said there, Jordan. I love this comment. It's seeing how much she can trust you, and how safe she can be with you, if you're able to actually handle these things with maturity, and stay grounded and be able to problem solve, etc., when shit hits the fan. So these are all really, really important things for us to figure out early on, to know if it's someone we actually want to spend time with ongoing, or if you're potentially going to be like the father of our children or something, so yeah, it's really important for us to figure out what you're made of. Sometimes, and we will keep you on your toes as well, even if it has been a long relationship as well, because that's really important. We don't like it when our guys get lazy as well.
They're always going to keep you on their toes. Yeah, just so you guys understand, men evolved to build, chimpanzees, dolphins, many apes, many other animals, they evolved to build coalitions of other males and go around raping, pillaging, using violence to get what they want and impose their will. Women are heavily sexually attracted to and dependent on men in order to have kids, and they're largely dependent on men, particularly humans, for like 18 years to actually support financially and care for the man. So women can't get what they want by punching and shoving and threatening violence. So they've developed much more subtle ways of getting what they want through life. And that's largely women's tests. So a good percentage of women use it in a very malicious, vicious way. A percentage of women do. But women are using it very, very innocently. And it's just like you thinking a girl's attractive, then seeing her bum's a lot bigger than you'd like. Or maybe she's, could lose many kilos. And even though she's got a pretty face and she's a nice person, you're not attracted to her. If a woman's really attracted to a guy because he looks good and he's maybe got a job she likes and maybe he's kind of good with people, then she throws a few little traps at him and the guy's got no clue what's going on, then she really loses attraction to him. It's just the way it is. I'll call this one out. Real Missuses. I know a book you should read, James, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Thank you. At least half a dozen people I really, really respect tell me I should read that book. It's on my list. I've got to read a whole bunch of business books, which I don't really want to do first. I'd much rather read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I read a bit of Buddhist philosophy. I've read some spiritual books. And my favorite spiritual book is a book called Autobiography and a Yogi. From what I understand, I won't even say, I believe Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is a sort of Buddhism Stoic intersection. Two things I'm very, very happy came into my life. I've done multiple Vipassana meditations and will do more when I get my business sorted out a bit more. Any questions? 1 second. Who's made fun of Andrew Tate and he didn't even get angry. So everyone says he's an angry person yelling at people. I don't really quite understand this. I think Andrew Tate's hilarious and incredibly charismatic. And he's so good at what he does. I mean, he is the Michael Jordan of shorts. It's something I've got to learn to do. He's unbelievable at shorts. I don't particularly like the way he got rich in terms of running an online strip club, but anyway. You see anything coming through? We'll probably move on.
No, we've had some people. Oh, yeah.
If she's testing you, it means she's attracted to you and seeing if it's real or not. Excellent comment, Jay Will.
Yes, spot on. She's not going to bother testing you if there's not some level of interest. That's for sure. So guys, if she's testing you, it's a good sign. You just need to pass the test.
You see anything we've missed, or we should maybe start to wrap up? Let me just run through what we've covered tonight. I should have done that before. Okay. Older men don't realize this attracts younger women. Do this to tempt her. High value psychology. Guys our age suck. Approach her. Do it confidently. She might have been looking over. She might want you. You might be 53. Her last boyfriend might have been 58 or 62. Like a girl I dated when she was 20 and she was 37. I was 37, who changed my life. The guy she loved before me was 42. Another one, probably the greatest woman of my life. I probably shouldn't say on YouTube. I think when she was 14, 15, she dated a 28-year-old. This wasn't in a Western culture. And then when I was 33 or something, I dated her when she was 20. So yeah, the girl might actually want you to come over. And you might be disappointing her. Where to find younger women? You need to find, there's a lot of younger women who don't want to date old guys, but there's a large percentage who do. It's your job as a man to find them. And then you want to target your hobbies and interests so that it's the girls who like you too. You must identify your mistakes first. Elon Musk is now worth 1.1 trillion. What's his number one secret? The theory of constraints. The theory of constraints. What's the number one thing stopping me advancing? And just laser focus on smashing that thing and then move to the next step. Most of you guys have no fucking clue what's really holding you back. If Tess does an assessment, a dating diagnosis on you, I would be astounded if you'd know two of the things she comes up with. Shocked. Even the guys who come to a bunch of our YouTube lives probably don't know what's actually holding them back. Flaunt your age and maturity and life experience. Don't try to hide it. Don't bleach your teeth white and dye your hair and beard and buy a red sports car and get a dick extension. If you do get a dick extension, I know one cosmetic surgeon who can do it for you. I'll get you a good price, but I recommend you don't. He did one on a 92-year-old not that long ago. I know, at least probably know a couple I've coached. So yeah, flaunt it. That's why she wants an older guy, because you've been around, you've had relationship experience, you might have some baggage. Stop trying to hide it and lie about your age. Never make it about money. This is 101, but so many guys, successful guys, young, beautiful woman, or even beautiful woman, they're immediately trading money for sex, money for beauty, money for beauty, money for beauty, money for beauty. It's gross. Yeah, there's a bunch of women who'll buy into it, but those girls are going to go toxic on you a big percentage of the time. You must be super confident. You must be a man. The reason she's dating an older guy, because she wants someone who's a hell of a lot more confident than the 28-year-olds or 35-year-olds her age. And finally, just get over your fears. We gave you some ideas on how to do that. If you feel like you're some sort of a war criminal or some sort of a pedophile, if you're sitting on a date with a girl and you just try to take her hand when she's been talking to you for all this time, or asking a girl out, you feel like a criminal, or asking for a phone number, you feel a criminal. I know where you're coming from. This was me for the first 31, 32 days of my life, years of my life. You just got to get over that. We can help you massively. We can do it very, very quickly when we give you the skills. If you sort of binge these YouTube lives, I don't know, and you don't want to actually get proper coaching, that's probably one of the best things you can really do. Okay, questions that we haven't dealt with.
Yeah, we've had heaps of engagement tonight, lots of new people jumping on. Thank you so much for your questions, your engagement. Please like and subscribe. That's going to help us heaps, guys. If this content resonates with you, we're here to give you as much as we can. Here to answer any of your questions. So we are going to be signing off quite soon. If you have any final questions that we can help you with, chuck them in the chat. And yeah, again, please like and subscribe and share as well. Share this with whoever you think it might be relevant for, or just anyone.
Apparently, if you save it, that means so much to YouTube. The other thing, if you want to see more of these, and we're getting some really good feedback about how we're different in a good way to most of what guys have experienced, a lot of that. As soon as the video goes live, which is sort of 10 minutes after we sign off, if you can go in and ask a question or make a comment about how good it was, I think that helps us more than anything. Because when we get comments early, YouTube goes, oh, people are paying attention to this, then they support us more. There must have been a lot of interaction at the start, and we've had 1,900 views already. So yeah, that's thanks to you guys. We didn't really do anything that much different to before. It's just because people are signaling to YouTube that it's worthwhile. So if you're still watching the replay at this point, yeah, go in, leave a comment, ask a question, say Tess is pretty. Say whatever you want about me. You can abuse me if you want. Just leave a comment. What important truth do very... Oh, here's it. We might round out with this one. This is a very intelligent question. What important truth do very few people agree with you? Tess, do you want to start?
Maybe like something that's quite controversial that we talk about, or something that's that's really important. That's a really good question.
Women are biologically wired to want confident older men. And if the guy is really confident, then it can be a lot older. That's something women object to. We had one on earlier who was saying I was preying on younger women or something. So that's going to piss the women off. And it's very natural. If I want to piss the men off, it's the fact that women play games and they test you to see what sort of a man you are. A lot of guys don't like hearing that, but it's the truth. If I was a good businessman, a good marketer, and a good YouTuber, I'd say, do these 3 things and supermodels will land on your dick tomorrow. I'd just feed you a bunch of nonsense. I'm telling you the truth. Getting better with women is a skill set. And there's a few skills you got to learn. But the point is, there is quite a few things you got to do, but you've only got to get a little bit better than the average American or Australian or Dutch or German guy to destroy everyone else in 2020s, because most guys have given up. Tess, do you want to share any important truths?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard for me to think of anything because I feel like most people do agree with what I tell them. So yeah, it's hard for me to think of something that people don't agree with, or might have some pushback on. Yeah, like I mean, I don't know, the test thing that came up tonight, women's tests. I think, guys, there's a lot of confusion around that. And when we say that women test because they're interested, they're like, well, why are they trying to push me away then? So yeah, maybe that one's a little bit counterintuitive to some, but yeah, tests do mean she is interested and that she cares about what the outcome of that test is, right? So yeah. Okay.
We've got a string of great questions at the end. I might just fly through these. Where are we? Come on.
Welcome, Solarius. When there's a
Here we
large
go.
age gap, yeah. When there's a large age gap, how to make things dynamic and interesting, not boring. Go ahead, James.
This is, I think it was my second point. I'm not going out to clubs just trying to pick up the hottest girl and take her home and shag her and try to start a relationship with her. I'm laser focusing women I'd naturally be interested in, whether it's through bookstores, bookstore cafes, travel, some sort of meditation, spiritual thing. So the women I'm meeting in these I could also go and play sport with girls. I don't like playing sport with girls because you hurt them and shit. So because I'm laser focusing according to my interests, you shouldn't necessarily go to a yoga class or a bookstore to meet the girls I want. You should figure out where are the girls you want and then learn a bunch of skills so you get confident, then go meet girls there. That's going to save your workload to sleep with a bunch of girls and meet someone really, really special by probably 95%. So when I do deal with large age gaps, the top 10, probably top 20 women of my life, apart from bisexual girls I had a bunch of threesomes with. If you leave out bisexual girls, who there was a bit of a whatever reason I was with them, because they were hot and young and bisexual. But yeah, if you look at the 20 women, the best 20 women of my life, they all read books. And if you look at the top 10, I mean, some of these girls were absolutely massive, massive readers of literature, and in some cases philosophy, and in some cases science, particularly literature. So I've really not had much problems with a really good connection, simply because I'm not selecting girls. I'm selecting girls on what I want in girls before I'm going after the beauty. Does that make sense? So one thing I'll do in boot camps just to amuse myself is I've got to go do a bunch of approaches at the start to whatever, get guys started and obviously show them I'm the real deal. But then after that, if I see a girl I like, I don't tend to go up and cold approach her. I just go, hey, how you doing? Just jump out and stop her. And sometimes just go, hey, random question. Tell me the last great book you read. And a lot of them are like, books? What do you read books for? You still in school or something? Why would you read a fucking book? You got Instagram. So yeah, and obviously I'm not interested in pursuing those girls, but every so often I'll talk to a girl in the bar. And one example, a very tall, very sexy Australian girl on this occasion, she just blew me out and walked past me. I said, oh, before you go, just tell me the last great book you read. She's like, Shantaram. I said, that's one of my favorite books ever. Come back and talk to me about Shantaram. Lo and behold, she, 20, 30 minutes later, she was hanging around doing the Tess, can you give me a quick little flirty stuff? She was hanging around, giving it that one, not that far from me. And I sort of worked out, hey, it's a Shantaram girl and whatever. And that resulted in a wee bit of the old in-out, as they said in the great Kubrick movie. And there was one other really good comment there. We had so many. You guys are loving us tonight. Thank you. This is one of my favorite comments of the night. They erase everything every 70 years. So if someone is right, they won't be mentioned. Very good work, real missus. Please come back to more YouTube lives. You're very welcome. We better run through. We don't want to go to 4 hours. I can't be longer than the longest Scorsese movie. I don't have DiCaprio or De Niro to support me. I don't think DiCaprio is that good an actor, just quietly. Pretty good with ladies, but I don't think he's a world-class actor. I wish Christian Bale got most of those Scorsese scripts, but anyway. How do you define confidence personally? It's almost unclear and unambiguous idea. It's helpful for me to make things clear as they can because I can be stupid at times. Tess, do you want to cover that? Sorry, I might have interrupted you because I dropped out. You go from here.
That's okay. There's a question that also relates to that, so we can try and answer these both in one go. Is a man's confidence measured by his competence or mostly by the way he carries himself? So both really great questions about confidence. What is confidence? Yeah, I would say it's more about how the man carries himself. Competence also comes into it as well, but definitely about how he carries himself. You know, a man who's confident or has high self-esteem, yeah, he's not shaken by tests. Yeah, he can maintain eye contact. He can be present with a woman and actually listen. He can what else? Yeah, just maintain composure. You know, and yeah, that's kind of first impression what confidence is. Yeah. James, do you want to add to that?
Is a man's confidence measured by his competence? Yes, absolutely. It's the skills Tess and I talk about relentlessly, or mostly by the way he carries himself. The way he carries himself is a subsection of all the skills, body language. That's one thing I could improve on. My posture has improved massively thanks to yoga, but it could still be improved a bit more. So the way you carry yourself is part, if you're talking about the way you walk around the room, shoulders back, etc., that's part of having competence. Like when I walk into a venue where I know there's going to be attractive girls or I'm working on a boot camp, I will intentionally manipulate my body and the way I walk in so that I walk in very different to how I'd walk in if I was just walking in with friends to have a meal or something. So yeah, competence, passably adequate execution of the skills is what's number one.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Obviously, yeah, being competent with the skills, it comes across as confidence, and also like knowing your value like on a deeper level as well, which plays a bit into like self-esteem, also adds to that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great questions, guys, and thanks for all the new guys. It's been great to connect with some new people here. Some really great engagement tonight. Go ahead, James.
I might just add, for those guys who work with us, you'll go through the process of working with Tess, Natalia, Val on Zoom. Then you do the boot camp, and your confidence will grow from there. And guys will go away and get crazy results, and that starts to become real to them. But they'll get to a point where they can get women way beyond, like dramatically beyond anything they sort of imagined they could before. Some of them to an extent I can't even imagine. And at that point, it becomes this insane confidence where it's just like, I know I'm worth it. And then slightly big-headed for me, I can go into battle for a girl against a guy 20 years younger than me, much richer, much taller, much more handsome. And I'm like, dude, you just don't have a chance. It's because of me having so many pieces of evidence that hot girls like me, plus the fact I know I've got these little ninja tricks where he's still talking about his holiday or his job, trying to demonstrate value and impress her. And I'm already touching on the small of the back, letting my beard gently go along her cheek. She's getting wet down there when he's still showing off. And just little tricks I have and teach my clients, because I have these ninja things, it just gives me this insane level of confidence, which women can smell. Just the way I'm just talking about me, which might sound big-headed, but many of my clients too, just the way I look at a girl, and it's like so many of you guys, you notice an attractive girl, you sort of look at her, you get caught looking at her and you're like, oh, oh. It's like you got caught, with a little kid or something. It's like you've committed some heinous crime. That's the way so many of you guys are with women. Whereas me, I'm just like, oh, she's noticed me. I just calmly hold her eye contact. But I'm not doing it in a sleazy or a sexy way. I'm just calmly, confidently holding her eye contact. And then she'll sort of get giggly. So this is the stuff that comes with confidence. So you've got to identify the mistakes and start to just go through them. Theory of constraints, Elon Musk. Then you've got to start to put some skills on top of what you've got now, and then you start to get results, and you start to get some more results, and then it just becomes insane. So yeah, that's the general process our better students go through. We might wrap up. What's it? Confidence to me is the fuel a man uses to be himself. Okie dokie. Well, did you want to add anything, Tess, or did any huge questions come through?
No, I think we got through all of them. Yeah, no, nothing I need to add. Just wanted to say thank you everyone for sticking around till the end, and yeah, for all your awesome questions. This has been a really, really good session tonight. So anyone who's new here, again, like, subscribe, share, save, and most importantly, book in a session with me so that we can connect and I can help you one-on-one to work through all of your sticking points with women and give you a plan for how you can improve straight away.
There'll be a link in the chat below. And yeah, the biggest favor of all you could do is if you could just, as soon as that video goes live on YouTube, it'll be the same link. Just ask a question, make a comment, say how great it was, say how shit it was, say how pretty Tessa's smile is, say how bad James's jokes are, whatever the hell you want. Just tell YouTube we matter, because we're little minnows in the YouTube world. We want to get bigger because everyone says we're really good at what we do, but I'm not very good at YouTube, as you can tell by my terrible lighting. I still haven't mastered. Anyway, I hope you guys got a ton out of that. Older men don't realize this attracts younger women. Remember, so many younger women want older guys. Just be confident, present yourself well, do a bit of exercise, and go get some young hot girlies and tell us all about it. And until next Sunday, keep smiling, and bye for now. Thank you so much, Ted.